It's now time for the Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Brian Kim asked if I was going to have my espresso ready. You bet damn believe I am. Very good. I'm the boss, capiche? What's up, everyone? Buenos noches, amigos. It is May 3rd, 2026. Welcome to the Sit Down with yours truly. I am Don Tony. Hope everyone is having a good weekend. I'm not yelling, I'm just Italian. Here in New York, weather's starting to get a little bit better. Some interesting developments in the world of professional wrestling in the last couple of days. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the exits of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. TKO tried to pull a Don Corleone, and I'm not kidding. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. They tried to make an offer to the New Day that they thought they couldn't refuse, and they refused it, and they're out. And some others may be following. For everyone that asked, and I know somebody super chatted this earlier, you don't need to do that, but I know a lot of you remember last Sunday when we covered all of the WWE releases. I call it Aleister Black Friday, because that Friday was the releases. Instead of Black Friday, we call it Aleister Black Friday. But I told you that there was two more that may have requested their release. And, we may get news soon. No, I was not talking about the New Day. I wish I was younger. I would lie. And I would at least think about lying and say, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. No, that's not what I was talking about. The names are much, much lower on the food chain, but very interesting development with their contracts. I got some news for you. I'm going to share it with you. We're also going to talk about, my God, it's kind of wild. We talked about in last week's releases who could be next. And we were talking about some names that we just thought weren't going to last all that long. And I said this last Sunday, and I said it again on Thursday's Patreon, because my Patreon DMs blew up in the last 48 hours. I said on Patreon Thursday that before the end of this year, Tangaloa and JC, don't call me Rhino on what was that, Timu? Don't call me Timu Rhino. JC Mateo. And we still think that Tala Tonga might be on that list as well. Not that we want to see anybody released, but I have never been a fan of Tangaloa. I have made that very, very clear. And we actually have a little highlight package for all of you in a little bit, showing some of Tangaloa's more embarrassing moments in WWE. And that's courtesy of another YouTube channel. I will definitely share it with you. And by the way, we're also going to talk about CM Punk and that new 911 call that came out. TMZ really, really going in the weeds now. They'll pay any motherfucker anything just for dirt. I got some very interesting information for all of you out there about that 911 call that I promise you, not one wrestling website has reported. And most other websites aren't going to give a shit about it because there were no charges filed. But there's something very, very fascinating about that 911 call. And I'm going to share with you. A lot of people read between the lines when I wrote on X that the person who made the accusations might also work for Geek Squad and the Microsoft and the Amazon. And maybe they emailed you that you have a $399 refund waiting for you. What if I told you that the person who did the 911 call was not the one that was assaulted? Gee, have you heard that anywhere? No, you haven't. I'm going to share with you a little bit. I actually did a little work this weekend. And I'm kind of happy because just a little quick announcement before we go any further. I've been doing it since 1997. I know you've heard that 811 times over the years, but I have a catalog of close to 4,000 episodes that are recorded and saved. Unfortunately, in my hotline days back in 2002, 99, we never ever thought of the idea of saving our telephone hotline reports into a computer. I started doing that in around 2000. So we don't have footage of our hotline reports from the late 90s. But I will tell you this, a long time ago, I took about 2,000 episodes offline. One, because I was worried about cancel culture, to be honest with you. Also, when we had the falling out with Kev about 6 years ago, God rest his soul, I pulled more DTKC show episodes offline. And so many of you have been asking for it back. And yes, they're all available on Patreon, but the only reason why it's there, besides everybody who's, just invested in what we've done over the years, our Patreon is very small. So the expense of putting thousands of episodes back there is not that much. Getting it for the masses is a totally different story. Long story short, a couple of you out there about 6 weeks ago told me that Podbean wasn't updated since I was in diapers. So I literally deleted 20 years of Podbean or whatever it is and started a new channel. Lost tens of thousands of followers. Then I found out that Spotify, Apple, and a bunch of other places, they kind of have a limit of 1,000 shows for a channel. And every time I started uploading more, like other episodes were disappearing. So I put old episodes up and the new ones were disappearing. Anyway, props to my server company because they worked for almost 2 weeks trying to fix this problem. And as of right now, on Apple and Spotify and iHeart and anywhere where you get audio, there are almost 3,000 episodes back for your listening pleasure. And what's awesome about it is the more content we have online, the more downloads, and we get our asses back up in the stats. We're back in the top 40 across all the platforms, and I will not rest till we get back into the top 10. So just a little quick announcement. I'll get it out of the way. I do want to say one other thing before we get into the new day and everything. I really got to mention this. It would make me feel terrible if I didn't. I'm sure all of you by now have heard the new prognosis of Rebel. Remember Reba? That's how we used to call her name, Reba, from AEW, Rebel. She was with Britt Baker. She's been very sick for a while. Originally, we thought it was something related to cancer, but she revealed in the last couple of days that she has terminal ALS. She doesn't have much time. And it's awful to watch that video. And I tell you, if anybody wants to dig a little deeper, she gave us some health updates in December. And I remember those health updates. And if you listen to her voice 5 months ago compared to now, it is crazy how much that ALS has taken over. And my heart goes out to her. I know the wrestling world is opened up, but, it hits home a little bit more for yours truly because I haven't talked about this publicly all that much. I've talked about my mom, but my father-in-law, my wife's father, is terminally ill. He is currently home on hospice. He has stage 4 lung cancer. And I've gone through death in my life, my grandmother, grandparents, friends, but I've never, ever, if you've ever heard this line, you ever hear when someone passes away and you hear someone say they passed away at home, surrounded by family and loved ones? You always think of that and you don't picture the scenario. Like you don't picture like the person laying in the bed and everybody is around them. And then a person's like, okay, now it's my time. Until it hits home. And for the last couple of days, we've been visiting her father. And it's just the saddest thing to watch. Just bedridden. on oxygen, cannot disconnect it, not even for a second. And, I just, it's just awful because this guy is such a strong guy and raised his family tremendously well. Just a good person. And to see this up close and personal and then see what Rebel posted, it just hits a little bit more. So right now it's been really, really difficult for our family. Me, I know him, since 2012, but, my wife, that's her father. So, and for anyone out there that would like to see, like a picture, this is from our wedding in 2022. That's him right to the next to my wife. And, my prayers are with him. He wants to go. He just is so tired of fighting illness and the C word and everything else that he's just stopped his chemo and just wants to be home and be around family until it's his time to go. So, it sucks. It sucks. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear this on a wrestling show, but at some point in your life, this is probably going to apply to you. And, all I could say to you is, you don't really know the feeling until you're around it. And all I could say is, just celebrate the people that you care for. Celebrate your family. I'm not going to try to preach and give you advice and everything, but the last thing you want to do, I always think about The Rock and Rocky Johnson. All right. I always think about how depressed The Rock was that he didn't get a little bit closer to his father right at the very end. And a lot of times you want to do it and it's too late. So enjoy the time that you have. At some point, we'll all go. I'm going to go. You're all going to go. We're all going to go. We just don't know exactly when. And just appreciate the people that are around you now, because in a snap of a finger, I mean, my God, that guy even a year ago, health issues, sure, but not like this. And you see even Rebel, 5 months ago, dealing with issues, no question. And then 5 months later, it's awful to see. So I just wanted to just say that right at the beginning. So, all right. I'm going to lighten up the mood just to piss myself off a little bit. Any of you out there ever heard of the legendary wrestler Luthez? One of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Luthez, I got to show you this. I promise you this will be almost as good as the discussion we're going to have about New Day in a second. Someone sent me a picture of Luthez, and I got to share with you because it is disturbing. It is disturbing as fuck. Now, this picture is a little bit far away, but you see him posing with a championship belt. This is somewhere around like 1940s-ish or anything, but yeah, Luthez, all right? You look at him, you're like, he kind of looks like George Costanza, if we're going to be honest, okay? All right, no big deal. And we zoom in a little bit more, and that is Luthez, a little bit more of a close-up. So why am I really pissed off at this picture? What if I told you that as of right now, I am almost twice his age in that photo? That motherfucker was 30 years old in that photo. We've watched those, videos that people in the 70s looked much older than how we are now. Let me tell you something, man. There's no way someone is 30 years old in that photo. I don't care if it's from the 1600s. That's 30 years old. 30. I'm almost twice his age. I always bring this up on Patreon because I'm too embarrassed to do it here. You ever watch Welcome Back, Kotter? Hey, Mr. Kotter. You ever see that show? You know the principal, Mr. Woodman? I'm older than what he was in that show. You ever watch All in the Family? Carol O'Connor? Now listen, I still got my hair. I don't have to dye it much. Carol O'Connor, remember Archie Bunker, All in the Family? I'm older than him in that fucking show. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. I'm sorry. To me, it's bizarre. All right. Now, should we talk about it? had some fun over the weekend trying to make my own version of Bootios. But instead, I came up with Booty TKOs. You know, the cereal for champions, not champions, but champions. Let's look at the top of this box. If you get a box of Booty TKOs, which Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods got, it's the cereal of champions, made with 100% unprofessionalism. If you buy the cereal, you get marshmallows. Let's see what we get with the marshmallows. You get poop. You get indie titles. If we scroll down a little bit more, you get the axe. You get sledgehammers. You get indie money. And, of course, you get the boot. I didn't have enough time to put Triple H's letters on the boot. But that is a box of cereal that I made up. Booty TKOs. And that's pretty much what they did to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. All right. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of AI, but, you know, that took me about 2 hours to make. Because you got to tell it exactly how you want it, how it's positioned, how it's spelled, how it's presented. You think it's easy? Regardless that it's you think it's easy to tell fucking AI, hey, I want marshmallows to look like axes and sledgehammers. I want TKO contracts in the cereal. I want fucking restructured contracts in there. That is not easy to do. You have to tell someone to do this, you know? So anyway, what's the deal? Okay, what's the deal? This is what we know so far. Everybody's been pretty spot on with this. The New Day signed new deals last year. Don't know if it's 3 years, don't know if it's 5 years, but they signed new contracts right before the winter time. Now we're past WrestleMania, and just to summarize it, TKO tried to pull a Don Corleone on Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. You're going to make him an offer he can't refuse. We're going to restructure your deals. We're going to tell you guys, listen, you know, we're going in a different direction. We're kind of, listen, for the geniuses out there that, oh no, WWE, the reason why they're doing a lot of these releases kind of like 1995 all over again. You know, they get out with the old and in with the new, and they're trying to go to youth. Bullshit. All right, because, sorry, the Creed brothers and a lot of others, with all due respect, are not going to be ones that's selling the tickets right now. What's happening is those who have been there for ages, if they're not going to be pushed, if they're not going to be featured in high-profile positions, they are not going to pay large amounts of coin anymore. It is what it is. You know, I said this whether people liked it or not. During the pandemic, you had all of the, you know, the social justice warriors and the people out there that, you know, don't know nothing about business. And they're like, you know, like, how could you release 100 people when you're making record profits? You remember that? Oh, Tony Khan, he doesn't release anybody. But WWE, how are you releasing people during the pandemic? It's cold. Of course it's cold. It's fucked up. But when you're a publicly traded billion-dollar company, you're supposed to show as much revenue with the least amount of expense and payroll involved. And when you hit a pandemic and you're not touring anymore and you realize we don't need 150, 200 wrestlers on our roster, let's get rid of 100. And we could still do the shows, we could still do the pay-per-views, we could still do this, we could still do that. We don't need this roster, and investors love it. Investors love it. That's why I don't like Mark Shapiro. I don't like Ari Emanuel. I have been warning you about Mark Shapiro for almost 2 years. It's just that if I don't tweet about it, if I don't do individual video clips on YouTube, nobody hears it except all of you that spend all your time with me. But we've been warning about this for a while. And what's happening now is you got to realize they have an insane number of people on their roster. And they want cuts. They want to carry over. They want to turn over. So now what has transpired is we have been now left with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. First it was Odyssey Jones. Remember? Odyssey Jones. We're going to recruit Odyssey Jones until Odyssey Jones' ex-girlfriend accused him of beating the shit out of her. And he got fired. And mostly it's been proven that he didn't do anything wrong, and he never came back. He never recovered. Then you have now the New Day kind of wanting to recruit, Javon Evans, and you have Grayson Waller, who's just thrown with them for some reason. We still don't know why that happened. And you're at a point now where 1 year ago, the New Day won the tag titles at WrestleMania 41. They beat the War Raiders. 1 year ago, the New Day were involved with Miro's return, if you remember. The New Day was celebrating their newly won championships. Alpha Academy came out and tried to challenge him for it. And then Miro came out and just decided, fuck Alpha Academy. Beat the shit out of him. New Day left. So now TKO looks at the contracts that were signed last year. And because of the 90-day no-compete, because of we can opt out whenever we want, sometimes, sign it. Yeah, sign it. Yeah, sign it. Same thing with Karrion Kross. We know most of the details with Karrion Kross. Listen, what about Scarlett? Don't worry about Scarlett. Yeah, we'll get to her. Just sign the deal. We'll get to her. Don't worry about it. Just right now, sign it. No, I'm not doing it. Okay. Bye. And they had no intentions on giving Scarlett. It sounds like a used car salesman. Just sign it. But it's leaking oil. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it. Just sign it. And what happens now is, okay, let's get some people under contract. Let's extend them more. Now they're reevaluating many people, not just the New Day. And basically what happens now? Hey, Kofi, Xavier, we got to restructure this deal. We have to renegotiate this for maybe less time or less money. No, man. We signed the deal last year. No. The deal's a deal. Well, then we're just going to let you go then. That's really what it was. They basically forced the New Day out of the WWE. And unfortunately, my friends, Kofi Kingston's historic run, the beautiful moment of winning a championship, the New Day, for quite some time, it's either been the New Day or the Usos, back and forth. Who's the greatest tag team of this generation? So it's most successful, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like that Janet Jackson song, What Have You Done For Me Lately? Ooh, yeah. That's what this is. TKO doesn't give a fuck about the history, doesn't care about the lineage. They have screwed over some people in UFC land as well. This is not the Vince McMahon company anymore. This is a company that doesn't have wrestling in their blood, that doesn't have the fandomhood in their blood. It is strictly business. It's strictly business. I sound like EPMD. Shout out to anybody who used to like that song. It's strictly business. And what they're doing now is they're just looking at the bottom line. That's why, listen, I've said this before. It's not that I want to see the guy go, but you really think that R-Truth is going to be there for the long haul? They've caved under pressure, and they're not doing that shit no more. You saw the Kyrie saying stuff last week, and people are actually thinking, we're going to get her back. We're going to look what we did with R-Truth. If we all speak out, we'll do it again. No, she's back in Japan. No, that's it. The people, and let me tell you something else. I don't have the video in front of me, but I am going to share it tomorrow. TKO's got a nice set of balls. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go on TKO's X account. Yesterday, right in the middle of the story breaking with New Day, they post a video basically not introducing us, but to celebrate their talent relations in the WWE. 3 individuals. Remember John, I think his name is John Cone. You'll probably best remember him as not only as a referee in the WWE, but his son Nicholas was a tag team champion with Braun Strowman. Apparently he's one of 3 in talent relations. It's no longer John Laurinaitis. It's no longer Jim Ross. It's John Cone and 2 other people. All right. And A lot of people are upset at Kevin Owens right now because Kevin Owens went on social media today and he's very upset that people are throwing darts at those 3 members of Talent Relations because they're 3 of the most nicest, genuinely caring, individuals that work for WWE. And that could very well be true. But understand, Mr. Steen, look at the timing. TKO basically forces New Day out. Unless they take less, we'll just let you go. And in the middle of it, you decide on May 2nd, 2026, let's post an X video touting our 3 members of Talent Relations. Almost like, just rubbing it in. Yeah, that's what happens. It's TKO, this is strategic. I could scream, I could complain, you all could complain. We could all say, fuck TKO, fuck Nick Khan, fuck Triple H, fuck all of these other people. And it's not going to change their business practices. The only way their business practices change is when shit goes on a decline. And even when that happens, that's not good either. Because if shit starts to decline, more people will be forced into renegotiating. If you saw the synopsis for this episode, I said expect politics to get involved. And I don't mean politics behind the scenes. I expect the Andrew Yangs to come out of his fucking closet. And I don't mean it like that, but come out of his house. Maybe that's a better way to put it. You're going to see people out there, we need to form a union. We need to form a union. You got Nick Khan talking about boxing at the regulations committee and, boxers need to be treated better and this, that. What about wrestlers? What about wrestlers? You're going to see politics drooling. Remember Gabrielle Cartieres? I had a productive meeting with Zelina Vega. We're going to change. We're going to help the wrestler to feel fucking shit. Bullshit. Called it bullshit then. Andrew Yang was trying to get a position in a Biden administration. Remember, Biden wasn't even president yet. And he cares about wrestling and the youth? No. As soon as Biden became president and Andrew Yang was left out in the cold, he's like random tweet once in a while, but it doesn't help me at all. Now you're going to see this shit come back to roost again. All right. And I don't know if a union is the right way. I really don't know. But all I know is that what we're in store for is not going to be good as fans. It's not going to be good as fans because the New Day just sent a message to the whole WWE roster that any one of you at any time could have your contract renegotiated, whether you like it or not. There is no guarantee. This isn't like WCW where, hey, you let me go, I get paid the full 2 years. It's not like AOL Time Warner when the merger happened and WCW went out of business and wrestlers sat home for 2 years, collected paychecks. All right. And please, God, I hope he finds a new love of his life. I hope he fucking becomes a billionaire. I hope something happens and his workload is just super fast. I do not want David Otunga to start posting all these fucking attorney videos about, the New Day and wrestlers in the future. No. Expect it now. David Otunga. Oh my God. That guy right now is probably trying to adjust his green screen. Like, hey, I see ad revenue coming here. The New Day sent a message to that locker room that I know it's easier to say than done. You don't have to take this shit. Yes. I never felt bad for Rey Fenix in AEW. I never felt bad about Andrade in the WWE. I never felt bad about Samantha Irvin in WWE. A 2-year no-compete clause, 1 year no-compete, this and that. You signed the fucking contract. Andrade, fails the wellness, gets released. I cannot work anywhere. It's fucked up. I cannot work for another year. And everybody's like, there's got to be a way. Yeah, it's called, negotiations, being nice, kissing their ass a little bit. I guarantee you, with all due respect, Andrade was like, please, sir, please let me work. I will not be a threat. Please let me work. Ray Phoenix, he's wearing a straitjacket. I want to work. I want to wrestle. I'm ready. AEW not using me. Anna Jay, whatever you want to put out anybody out there. These people sign contracts. These people know very damn well what could come down in the future. It's just that they don't ever think it'll happen to them. This time around, it happened to arguably the best tag team of this generation, or the most successful one of this generation. So the New Day were forced to make a decision. Restructure, renegotiate, less, or out. And they left. You could even say they pulled a Naomi and a Sasha. Just they didn't do it to Johnny Ace. That's really what happened. So now they're gone. They're gone. I'll say this. And I know some people are not going to like what I'm going to say. But I truly mean this in the bottom of my heart. I truly, truly mean this. I do not think for 1 second it is hypocritical for any people out there to say, I want to see the New Day in AEW. I want to see Zoe Stark in AEW. But I don't care who a release is. You're not hypocritical. I don't care if you're a WWE diehard or an AEW diehard. That aggravates me whenever I see that shit online. And let me tell you why. What a lot of people need to understand, and you see it the last 2 days. Oh, these hypocritical fans, they just didn't care about New Day, didn't speak up, didn't do this and that, didn't like them, and now they're released, and I got to see them in AEW. And then other people out there, this is what it comes down to. Plain and simple. Simple English. Unfortunately, 99% of shows out there will not tell it to you like this. The reason why people immediately start talking about the New Day going to AEW, the New Day working the Young Bucks, the New Day doing this, the New Day doing that. The reason why they're saying this, it's not because suddenly, they have a newfound appreciation for people. But the thing is, whether they were our first choice to watch on TV or 30th choice to watch on TV, we still enjoyed watching them on TV. And the thing is that sometimes when someone is let go, you realize that if they don't sign with TNA or AEW, that's it. You're not seeing them on TV anymore. And that kind of sucks. The person does not always have to be the main eventer, the big ticket seller. It's just that when someone gets let go, we've seen too many times over the years where people just disappear. People will just end up in indie world. People will just retire. People will just do next to nothing. So it's not, I'll admit it too. I don't think any of us were clamoring of the New Day being on television. But when they were on television, they were good at what they did, and they did entertain us. Sure, it gets to a point where you got to take a step back and let others progress. But the thing is that the reason why you're seeing all of this attention about New Day going to AEW is not because of fuck WWE. It's not because of kissing the ass of AEW. It's just that they want us to watch them on TV. Even if it's for a smaller role, even if it's for a limited time. Some of us, we would rather see someone on TV than just disappear. And that's why this is. Plain and simple. It's not about pro AEW. Listen, for those that don't like WWE, sure. It's about, wow, we could finally see the New Day and the Young Bucks. We could see this and that. But at the end of the day, whenever you see a fan that fantasizes someone released from WWE and you want to see them in AEW, or somebody gets let go in AEW and you want to see them in WWE, a lot of times you just enjoy watching that person on TV, no matter how much or how little of a role they have. And if they don't sign, that's it. That's it. What are you going to do? Watch highlights from an indie show with 200 people? You're going to watch a video from Japan and not even understand the commentary? You're going to have them face people that you honestly don't care about, with all due respect. Most, people outside of Japan don't follow Japanese wrestling in droves. There's enough, but it's not the norm. Just we don't want to see them drift away. That's it. So, do I want to see him in AEW? Yes. I'd rather see him in AEW than not see him on TV at all. Don't know what they will do. Don't know what their team would be called. Don't know how they would handle it. But I still would rather see them on TV than not see them at all. I don't feel that way about everybody. All right? You saw the pair of MFTs that were let go. For those that don't know. And you want to see, speaking of a pair of MFTs, we'll have some fun with these two tomorrow. I posted something 2 or 3 weeks ago that got no attention whatsoever. I'm sure you heard the news this weekend what Post Malone said, right? These are a pair of MFTs as well. I have no sympathy for them whatsoever. I'm sorry to say it, but if I had a daughter, maybe I shouldn't. I might get myself into like Snoop Dogg territory. I don't know. I think if my daughter brought one of them home, I kind of would be a little bit nervous. I don't know why. I just don't know why. Hey, I used to joke with Kev. Kev was showered in tattoos. Kev had more skin covered in tats than skin that wasn't covered in tats. I don't know. They just intimidate me a little bit, especially when you're clean cut now and you got like a nice, beautiful cowboy hat and you progress, you proclaim your faith and all this stuff. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like a pit bull that has been biting and vicious all their life. And the pit bull knows nothing but attack. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, no. Nice boy. And for a little while, the pit bull is nice, obedient, listens to everything, begs, wants biscuits, and then, one day, the pit bull kind of remembers his roots. What's the old saying? You could take the man out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the man. So, yeah, karma came, and Pat McAfee's not saving Jelly Roll this time around. So, but anyway, getting to the MFTs for a second. I'm curious in the chat how you all feel about the New Day being let go. I don't think this is as much of a negative as it's perceived. It's negative because you realize now that the bigger names, we thought they were lifers. This was not Paige is back, I'm out of here. Like Xavier Woods, no, it had nothing to do with that. I saw some people trying to say that. We thought these guys were lifers. I mean, if there's anybody that you truly thought would finish up their career in the WWE and retire, I think those two guys would be near the top of the list. Kofi's been there for almost 20 years. I mean, Kofi Kingston, from what we understand, has saved his money and has his family set for life. I have no idea how much money Kofi commands in 2026. But one thing is for certain. TKO negotiated with them about 7 months ago. And now TKO is like, we're going to renegotiate. And if you don't like it, it's been nice having you. There's no emotional tie anymore. You look at the Wyatt Six. We pain still for what happened with Bray Wyatt. But the fact of the matter is, and I've said this a year ago, Bray Wyatt, I've said this longer. Bray Wyatt's my favorite of the last 20 years, 15 years. But I'll say this. If that fucking Universal Haunted House never came about last year, I think they would have been gone much sooner. There are people they bring in, and I'm going to say something that's going to be unpopular, but, it is what it is. Let's get very quickly, and we'll talk more about New Day. I'll definitely get into the chat room. You share your comments. We'll share them too. But I want to talk briefly about the releases of JC Mateo and Tangaloa. First, I'm going to get to JC Mateo. All right. Now, I have said this since day one that he was in WWE. To me, he always reminded me of Rhino. The physicality, the look, the same hair. I wouldn't even be surprised if JC Mateo one day accidentally revealed like a picture of his bedroom, maybe from 10, 15 years ago, and Rhino pictures were all over it. To me, he just looked like Rhino, built like Rhino, didn't have the charisma or the intensity like Rhino. May have had it in Japan, but he certainly didn't have it in the United States. He didn't have it in AEW either. When he was brought in, I said it back then, a lot of you said it as well, extremely talented person. How the hell is he going to connect to the WWE Universe? How is he going to connect with fans? And literally, after a while, it's like, oh, let's just put them in face paint. Let's just put them in face paint, and they'll forget, that that's JC Mateo. Now he looks like a monster, and that didn't work either. JC Mateo, to me, that name just sucks. You're bringing him into the bloodline. You bring him into the bloodline. You got Tungas, you got Fatus, and we got Mateo. A fucking restaurant in Howard Beach where I live is Mateo's. JC Mateo. That doesn't give, that's not intimidating. That's not bloodline. I just never liked the name. I never felt that he was going to connect with the WWE Universe. He is extremely talented, but for MLW, for maybe Ring of Honor back in the day, Japanese wrestling, no question. This is someone, with all due respect, unless he goes to GCW and starts slicing and dicing, this is a guy that was never made for the WWE mold. That doesn't mean anything bad on him. It's just that you look at someone and they come into WWE and you say to yourself, that's interesting. You look at Evil. I'm sorry, man. I look at Evil and I think to myself, oh my God, this is going to be worse than Kenzo Suzuki. This is going to be almost like when fucking, Wendy Chu they were doing Tian Sha. You got Mystique. Silent, intimidating, tall, evil look, just great presentation. And maybe for the NXT universe, you bring him to the main roster, and if he just stands there like an Oompa Loompa, who's going to do the talking for him? You bring him to the main roster. If we're being honest, the fuck work rate for a minute. The guy could work immensely. But you look at the WWE product, you have to have that intimate connection with the WWE Universe. How do you connect with the WWE Universe? You either have to be a freak of nature, just somebody that just, it sells it on its own. You get someone like JC Mateo coming in, I'm sorry. I always felt it was like buying Rhino on Wish. There was never that connection with the fans, and the name sucks. JC Mateo. That sounds like an indie wrestler. That doesn't sound like a member of the bloodline. And we get to Tangaloa. All right. I don't want to fast forward, but I also look at Tala Tonga. I look at this picture of Tala Tonga. Look at this picture. Everybody in this picture except for Solo Sikoa is going to be, or is already going to be out. I always said this too. Tala Tonga is an impressive looking specimen. Very tall, very evil, not trying to bite off of Danhausen. But if you look at that photo closely, to me that looks like Sean Waltman slept with a fucking giant Samoan. You look at him, he looks like Sean Waltman banged a 7'4" Samoan woman and gave birth to Tala Tonga. You look at him, he's not intimidating, other than just standing there and doing stuff. That's why you see Omos having such a difficult time. And people like Brock Lesnar and others wanted to work with Omos. This guy standing alongside Solo Sikoa, after a while, that's it. This is not the next Diesel. So you look at him and look at the background, Tangaloa. Oh my God. You would have thought that Tangaloa hit on my wife or did something to me personally. Maybe a road rage incident. Cut me off, bastard. Tangaloa, I have never been a fan of. And this guy was let go. And, you know, Yeet Wrestling on YouTube reminded everyone Tangaloa and just how awful he is, with all due respect. I know you could talk about Bullet Club stuff. You could talk about his brief stint in TNA. You could talk about what he's done on the indies. All I know is that when this motherfucker made his debut and showed up shortly thereafter to attack Kevin Owens, I have a little highlight reel. I'm going to show it to you in full speed, and then I'm going to show it to you slowed down. This is Tangaloa. Just look at, I got to set this up again. Look, you know what? Let's show the slow motion one. If you look at the slow motion one, all right, this is, let's go back. You look at this is him attacking Cody Rhodes. All he has to do is throw Cody Rhodes into the corner turnbuckle. So it looks like he hurts his spine. And as you will see, he charges Cody Rhodes and look at this. He pushes him against the side of the rope. Look. Oh, man, I fucked up. Oh, now let me put him in the corner. You just are terrible. And to me, this is great. This is the best one of them all. Tangaloa, all he's got to do is a nut shot. And this is main camera. This is not even house show. Look, he goes to do the nut shot, and he fucking misses. Boom! Look at Kevin Owens is like, nah, you didn't hit me, motherfucker. So he does it again. And Tangaloa is like, look at himself like, wow, I fucked up again. And let's not forget Tangaloa. Oh, wait, this is an indie wrestler. Look at this. Just look at this. I have no idea what that was. Let's look at that one more time. I don't know. What was it? 619? I don't know what the fuck that was. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. He just like falls. But here's the best one of them all. Now, this one you got to look closely. This is a little bit far away. This is Tangaloa's debut on the WWE roster. And if you notice, the referee has his foot hanging outside the ring. And the referee is counting to 3. And when the referee counts to 2, Tangaloa is supposed to pull the referee out of the ring. And as you watch closely, not only does this guy jump out of the ring, underneath the ring too late, he's got like paper on his face. And you see the referee, you know, like obviously the referee has to compromise if this motherfucker doesn't break up the count. The referee actually on his own like flips over to fall out of the ring. And then you see Tangaloa grab his foot. Just look at this closely. 1, 2, look, he's not even there yet. Now watch the ref. Look, the referee turned around and he pulled him out of the ring. That is just so goddamn bad. That is just awful. That is awful. Now, that's in slow motion. Watch this shit in real time. This is so bad.
And now from behind.
I missed. Now I got him. Oh, that's just so, this is great. Attempted 619. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Okay, here it is. Here's the debut. There's the referee. 1, 2. The referee rolls out on his own. And Tangaloa is standing there just looking like a fucking Tangaloa. Oh my God, this guy was just so good. Look at this. Look at these punches. Look at this. The guy just sucks. Just awful. I can't believe he lasted 2 years. He debuted at Backlash 24. JC Mateo debuted at Backlash 25. And Backlash 26, they'll be watching from home. I have nothing personal against either one. But Tangaloa, I don't know what the hell happened with this guy. But what's interesting is a lot of his friends are now employed in other places. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? He's literally going to have to reinvent himself entirely. He can't fall back. You know, sure, there's a couple of Samoans. There's a couple of fucking Fatus or whatever out there that he could align with, but you're talking indie wrestling in front of 100 people. So they're out of a job. And WWE didn't even renegotiate with them. You know what I think? You know what I think their renegotiation was? How do you want us to fire you? Do you want us to just tear up your contract? Do you want us to shove it up your ass? Do we want to wish you the best on your future endeavors, or do we want to just act like it never happened? That's really what the negotiations were. Hey, boss, what if I pay you? No, that's okay. That's okay. So they're gone too. And expect others. Expect others to be gone also. Listen, the New Day releases are very concerning. Very concerning. And I don't have it in front of me. But Backlash, okay? Tomorrow, because we now do video on Monday nights too. Tomorrow, I'm going to share my screen with you. And in real time, we're going to look at the tickets available for Backlash. Backlash is this coming week. Backlash is this coming week. You will be shocked the tickets that are available. You would think the AEW diehards would be plastering this every hour on the hour. And what's even more crazy about it, you could still buy front row for Backlash. You could still buy the rampway 2-3 rows in for Backlash. But they want $6,000 for a ticket. I kid you not. And this is not just resale. This is not some greedy motherfucker that paid, a small amount of money and is trying to make 100 times the value. You look at the tickets available, this building is immensely far away from sellout. It's actually kind of shocking how many tickets are available. Now there's word around the campfire that John Cena may actually make an appearance at Backlash. And yes, expect some websites to do it. It's clickbait. It's not going to happen. But Danhausen needs a partner. Danhausen needs a partner. Oh, could it be John Cena? His history with Miz. John Cena, could he? CENAHAUSEN? Oh, wait tomorrow. Wait, see, they're a little slow. They're a little slow. It's not like a clock with a dead battery where it's not ticking by the second. It's kind of like stuck. No, these just people are slow. They're waiting to figure out which Pollock is going to be the first one to write it so everybody else follows. But you mark my words. Once the rumor starts floating around in the next 24 hours that John Cena might be at Backlash, you're going to see people out there. My sources tell me that WWE is seriously trying to figure out, the possibility of, or John Cena being Danhausen's part has been discussed. Has been discussed. You watch. We'll talk about Backlash tomorrow. We might even do predictions tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. But, this is very concerning because TKO, look at the Roman Reigns situation. I don't think this is an issue yet. I think someone asked earlier about Roman Reigns and what transpired in the last 24 hours. I think some people are jumping the gun. I'm not going to criticize anybody that is really using this as headlines right now. But for those that don't know, Roman Reigns, the advertisements for Roman Reigns appearing in Japan, his name has been pulled. And a lot of people are now speculating that something could be up. Roman said he was wrestling throughout the summer. Why was he pulled from the June events? And the June events are big because WWE is going to be in Paris. WWE is going to be in outside of the United States for, I think, half the month of June. Roman Reigns obviously is a gigantic name to have there. So I think some people are jumping the gun way too soon because I was told that they're just redoing their commercials. Remember, there's a possibility that Obafemi might end up becoming a United States champion by the time June comes around. Remember what we talked about last week with Night of Champions? It's kind of wild how much feedback we got about that. But they're changing the commercial a little bit. Rhea Ripley was still being advertised for June. All right. Sure, she could still be part of it because the tour, some of these events are both rosters. But for Monday Night Raws, Rhea Ripley was advertised. Rhea Ripley was advertised for Monday Night Raw, I think, in 2 weeks. So I heard that they might just be changing up the commercials. I don't know if it's any more than that, but because he was removed from the June advertisements, some people are really, really speculating hard. And no one out there, trust me, no one in Roman Reigns' camp, nobody in TKO, nobody in WWE's talent relations, nobody is revealing any information to WrestlingDirtSheet.com. So people out there, it's just analyzing, assuming, speculating. But to turn around and try to make it as a big news story, we don't know yet. We really don't know. Just because someone is pulled from an ad doesn't necessarily mean they're off the shows. So I just wanted to throw that out there too, because some people are really, really trying to push that shit. But let me tell you something, expect other names that are going to be restructured. I could think of some names immediately. And remember this too, SmackDown is back to 2 hours. We thought, oh, Fatal Influence, SmackDown, oh, they're still at 3 hours. They give more time for some wrestlers. No, we're back to 2 hours. Fatal Influence, their job is secure right now. Not saying that, but what I'm saying is them going to 2 hours, there's more names. There's more names. Either they're going to just flat out refuse, or they're going to tell them, listen, I know we renegotiated a deal, but we have to restructure this. Otherwise, unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go. And that's going to be something, I personally, no name is safe other than the usuals. Some people were mad at Drew McIntyre. He did a podcast over the weekend and he's justifying why removing house shows was a good idea. And, you listen to what he said, and although it makes sense, but, the idea that money was not being made is a little bit crazy. And it sounded really corporate. Don't forget the clip I played from Sami Zayn about 2 months ago on the show. I was shocked at how many people were angry about it. Even Sami Zayn sounds corporate now. And a lot of these people realize you conform and you adapt and you just do that extra effort to show that you are irreplaceable. Otherwise, anybody is on the table. There are some names right now that absolutely, you don't want to work behind the scenes. You don't want to be a trainer. You don't want to be an agent. You don't want to do this. Yeah, we're just going to let you go. And if the New Day were not safe, others are as well. And you say to yourself, wow, TKO gave him this deal 7 months ago. And now all of a sudden, they just came off of an insanely profitable WrestleMania, near records. Some records were broken, but just an insane deal. So what was the urgency to renegotiate now? And let me tell you something. I don't care how nice John Doan is, John Cone, John whatever, phone home, or the other woman that's in the talent relations. I don't know if they're responsible for it. I don't know if it's Triple H. I don't know who it is. All I know is that TKO obviously wants to cut back on the payroll. They want their next conference call to focus on less is more. It's the UFC template that we talked about almost 2 years ago. So who is making the decision to say, we got to renegotiate New Day? And the thing is, I don't expect Kofi Kingston or Xavier Woods to throw Triple H under the bus or throw individuals under the bus, because there's always the chance of them being brought back. They obviously are future Hall of Famers. They obviously will get more than 6 minutes to accept their induction. And they're still young enough that they could. It kind of reminds me somewhat of the Hardys. Look at the Hardys. Jeff obviously had issues. Remember, Jeff walked through the crowd. WWE's like, we want you to go in rehab. And Jeff's like, I don't need rehab. Okay, no problem. Bye. And TKO wasn't even involved at that time. But you look at the Hardys. I think the Hardys ended up doing 10 times more now than if they were still in WWE. I absolutely think the Hardys are a great example of what the New Day can do. And the New Day are so entertaining at what they do. They don't have to break their bodies in half. They don't need cage matches to be rated in the 8s. They don't need Meltzer ratings of 4 or 5 stars. All they got to do is just entertain whoever is watching them perform, and fans will be content with it. They're still, and here's another thing too. I don't have their ages in front of me, but I do know for a fact that the Young Bucks are slightly older than Xavier Woods. You know, these are not wrestlers that are long gone their prime. They still can go, but there's no need for them. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need them to fucking go through 3 tables. You don't need them to do insane, injury risked moves. You just need to do what got you to this point. And I think this could be a blessing in disguise for the New Day. I think they are better to be medium-sized fishes in a small pond than medium-sized fishes in a big pond. Right now, they are medium-sized fishes in a very big pond. That is WWE TKO. You put them in a smaller pond, and they stand out even more. They get accepted even more, featured even more. They're not used just to do the job for others. They're not there to just simply put over future or bring someone in as a protege or whatever you want to do. The Hardys have shown that they can win and they can have titles and still elevate their opponents. And that's what the New Day can do. They can work other companies. They can work indies. They don't think they'll work that many. They'll work AEW and they'll have, some runs. And in the process, they will help elevate some people along the way without having to have an insanely big losing record. So, thank you. Yeah, Matt Jackson is 41. Xavier, I think, is like 39. Nick is the one that's younger. So, thank you for the ages, Kappa. But let's see what happens. So, all right. Should we, before we get to CM Punk, there is a lot of you that were very generous, and I would like to acknowledge some, and then we'll hit the chat room. We'll acknowledge some super shout-outs. We'll get into the CM Punk 911 call. We have the audio, and I will share some exclusive, and then we'll get into the chat room, and then we'll call it for today. Chainsaw Charlie with a 10 spot. Do I think Kofi and Xavier will end up in AEW? And do I think they should remain a tag team or go out on their own as singles wrestlers? I kind of think that they should remain a tag team. I think, when they're a tag team, they don't have to work as hard as individuals. Doesn't mean that one can't appear in an indie show, signing autographs or whatever. But I think Kofi and Xavier would definitely remain a tag team. There are just some people that you just see them and you just feel, they got to be a tag team. Obviously, not going to be called the New Day. Obviously, you're going to have to come up with something. If I'm Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, I use the wrestling fans and the IWC to your advantage. Guys, help us come up with a new team name. Help us come with a new name. There's got to be something out there. If I'm them, I let the fans get involved with it. The fans, they feel like they're helping them. It'll just get them over that much more. Yeah, I do believe they'll go to AEW. I think it's a lock. Is the Young Bucks and the New Day like an absolute fantasy match for me? No. But I remember the videos of them playing video games, and I remember some of the things that they did. And it was always like, wow, it'd be cool to see, the Young Bucks and the New Day go at it. I think it'll be a holy shit moment in AEW. I think it'll be a lot more fun. I'm sure there'll be a lot of gaga involved as well. Doesn't have to be a 5-star match. Just needs to be entertaining. I absolutely believe they will be in AEW. And again, I'm not the biggest AEW fan, but I absolutely would enjoy watching AEW because, number one, they're still on my TV. And number two, they will fight some people that I'm not normally seeing them fight. And to see some, and who knows, could reinvigorate, themselves or others. I think it's fun. They could still go. So why would you not want them on your TV? So Bobby Means, if he's a New Day, they should go to TNA. I thought about TNA. I think the problem is not enough as far as the tag team division. I know you got the Hardys and I know you got the Righteous, and there's definitely, something there. But this is not a case where they pop up in NXT in a couple of months, kind of like that relationship. I think you capitalize, especially when is All In? My friends, could someone out there get me the date for All In? Because I think the New Day's official release date would be July 31st. When is All In? Could someone get me that date? Because if it is in August, absolutely, you put fucking Young Bucks and New Day. I would put it as their debut match in AEW. I absolutely would do that. Someone in the chat room will get it for me. August 30th. Thank you, Scorpion. August 30th. That's it. You have them show up on AEW television a couple of weeks before, and they challenge the Young Bucks at Wembley. I mean, how you can't get bigger than that. And you know what's great about it? You don't have to have the Young Bucks involved with championships at the time. This is a storyline in itself. Friendly challenge. They can both be baby faces at the time. And that's what I would do. That's exactly what I would do. I would have the New Day show up on AEW television a couple of weeks before, have the confrontation with the Young Bucks. Friendly, but then it gets a little bit, intense. You could bring up video games. You could talk about some of the competition there, but then it gets to the wrestling ring. And the fans will want it. And that is a match that sells itself at Wembley. That's what I would do. I wouldn't even think twice about it. That's literally, let me put it this way. Bully Ray this week said, Zoe Stark, Tony, give her the mic for 5 minutes. Let her sell herself. Let her talk about her fight and this and that. And that's it. It's handed to you. All right, it's for a matter of opinion, but talk about handed to you. Young Bucks, New Day, Wembley, August 30th. That is what you called handed to you. That is handed to you. Daniel-san, all this talk about Roman leaving, we have no idea or hope he's healthy. I do not believe for a second there's any issues with Roman Reigns. I said last week and the week before, and it's on the synopsis from 2 weeks ago, I believe that TKO recently restructured Roman Reigns' contract. You heard me say that 2 weeks ago. No idea, just speculating. Because Roman Reigns has been off TV for quite some time. Like, Roman Reigns doesn't just decide, hey, I'd love to be back on TV. And, hey, can I work the whole summer? Hey, my kids are going to be at camp. I have a lot of time free. Hey, that's not how it works. If TKO and WWE felt we need him to be that center, last year it was Cena. All the focus on Cena's retirement. This year, we need a little extra Roman Reigns. We need you to be back in a stronger capacity. And I think they renegotiated his contract. I said that a couple of weeks ago. I think they renegotiated his deal. And I don't think there's any buyer's remorse a couple of weeks later. Raw, the night after Mania, the Raw after Mania, did a really strong number. Much better than the SmackDown after Mania. I don't know if it'll maintain a better number with Roman back on TV, because I got news for you. I said this earlier last week, and I'll say it again here now. Roman on my TV until the summertime, that's nice. But if all he's going to do is fucking talk and have some pull-aparts, that's not enough for me. See, I think The Rock hasn't had a match on Raw in 25 years. Brock is, I think, had one in how many decades? Or, you know what I mean? Like, Roman Reigns is still young enough and he's champion that he should have a couple of matches on Raw. So it's nice that Roman is back on my TV, but we now have him back on TV for how many Raws in the last couple of months? It was like 5 Raws leading up to Mania. And now this is 3 Raws after WrestleMania. And how many matches has he had on Raw? Those 8 appearances. Goose egg. So you put him on my TV every week. That's nice and everything. You could have these well-produced videos with dark lighting and, just catchy liners. After a while, people are going to be like, he's not wrestling. He's just talking. That's full time. He's talking. He flew on a plane. He's here on TV for 7 minutes. That's full time. You give that a couple of more weeks and people will be like, this is the idea of full time. That's why it's probably best for CM Punk to go to SmackDown, because in storyline, CM Punk's like, hey, you're the champion. You rescued us. You're not even defending the title on Raw. That's what I would be complaining about in storyline. So I would say do not worry too much about Roman right now. I think it's just a lot of just wild speculation. A little paranoia too. Ronnie C with the 20 spot. DT, you got your wish. Tangaloa. Wait, Tangaloa is Noah Moore. That's awesome, man. Tangaloa is Noah Moore. I have nothing personal. I just never liked him, man. Tangaloa, you've heard me. I've always said it. MFT stands for motherfucking Tangaloa. To me, that's what MFT always stood for. Motherfucking Tangaloa. So, I wish him well. But I just hope that he learned a trade outside of wrestling. Sell insurance, deliver pizzas, paint houses. But wrestling? It's just hard sell for me, man. Thank you, Ronnie. Jim Kahn, the Bucks, Motor City Machine Guns, and the New Day. Hell of a tag team division. Yeah, I could see the Motor City Machine Guns. You could consider bringing them back to TNA because there's been some turnover, since, and I think their value would be more in TNA. Plus, let's be honest, they would be accepted in AEW, no question. They wouldn't need to have, put it this way, AEW fans are a little bit more forgiving. Like, they'll unplug the charisma vacuum. Because I've said it, when they debuted, I'm sorry. It's not because I have a personal gripe with Chris Sabin, but when they debuted on WWE television, I was like, this isn't going to last the long haul. They look like 40-something-year-old guys with not very strong promo skills. Like, you're not going to have the WWE Universe doing a catchphrase. The little kids, all they're going to be doing is looking at the entrance and going, run, run, run. They're great. They're talented. I think AEW fans wouldn't mind if the charisma vacuum was plugged in. They'd be like, you hear something? No, I don't hear something. I think they would focus more on the wrestling aspect of it. In fact, you know what I would do? Fucking let them prosper in Ring of Honor. Let them prosper in Ring of Honor. I think that actually would be a great move for Motor City Machine Guns. They've had a legendary career. They are Hall of Famers. But at this point, you want to have some bucket list matches, go right ahead. But I personally think the Motor City Machine Guns are better used, in the background. And for WWE, it was just, no. Again, when I saw them, I'm nothing against them. But I was like, they look like they're 40-something-year-olds. They're not, great, amazing on the promo. There's no catchphrases, no one-liners that the fans are going to repeat. They can work, but so can everybody else. That's the problem with today's generation. Everybody wrestles great. So unless you do something insanely stupid or risque, or you have something amazing about your look, your personality, your character, it's not easy. It's not easy. You don't stand out like you used to. And just like TKO, the young WWE Universe care less that these guys were teaming up 15 or more years ago. They're concerned about now. You know, you have the Motor City Machine Guns out there killing themselves, you know, battling Fraxium. And some people be like, oh, cage match, 9.10. Amazing, amazing. And the crowd is dead. And then 2 seconds later, the crowd, oh, Danhausen, you are cursed. You know, it just, there wasn't a good, click there. I would put him in Ring of Honor. Absolutely would put him in Ring of Honor. And Jim Khan says, WWE, quote, we apologize for crapping on WrestleMania and firing your favorites. Here's a gingerbread man funeral. Wasn't the first time WWE couldn't read the room. That whole gingerbread man thing is just, it's stupid, but it's like so stupid that I'm actually entertained by it. I laughed my ass off because I didn't watch SmackDown Live. I mean, obviously what's going on with my wife's father. I mean, we've been everything's been all out of whack here. But I watched some clips and then I watched SmackDown Saturday afternoon. But when I watched the clip of Sami Zayn in the ring with Gingerbread Man, I thought somebody came out there wearing the outfit. And when he kicked it in the nuts and he just fell back like perfectly, I couldn't stop laughing. That was like one of the funniest things. And then I realized quickly, like, no, there isn't anybody underneath there. Like, but again, I just saw the clip on X. Then I watched the whole episode. I'm like, okay, now I know what happened. But Sammy, as stupid as it was, like, we just finished talking about him with Johnny Knoxville. Like, Sammy as a heel is actually much better than I think. So, of course, we miss Sammy Uso and, the innocent laugh and a smile when he's with Roman Reigns and all that stuff. Of course, we miss it. But, I think some people forgot how great Sami Zayn is as a heel. I had as a ringtone for a little while that picture of Sami Zayn in his bathtub. Remember when Johnny Knoxville put out his phone number and Sami Zayn put out a screenshot of him, like, why are people calling me? I had that as my ringtone screenshot for a little while. I thought it was hilarious. Somebody calls me, I look at my phone and it's Sami Zayn in a bathtub. I like Sami as a heel. And I don't want to see him corporate, like TKO stuff. Just this stuff, as bad as it is, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. So thank you for that. Guevara, 813, the Novel Sunrise coming to AEW. The Novel Sunrise coming to AEW. The New Day. The Novel Sunrise. The Day of New. Stephen P. New Day. Maybe Stephen P. New could be their manager. Stephen P. New Day. Maybe we could put the words together. Sunday, Monday, New Day. Well, could they do that? Just remove the syllable? Hey, it's just a day in a week. Some people love Mondays. Some people love Wednesdays. We love New Days. It's the 8th day of the week. New Day. Remove the space. I don't know. I'm live. I'm a little wired on the coffee, to be honest with you. Yeah, you could have them come out naked and call them the Nude. Aye. No, that's Australian. Like, aye. The Nude. Aye. They could be stoned and they could be the New Days. They could be dazed. We got to come up with some good names, but problem is we won't get paid for it. You guys won't get paid for it either, but you kind of feel like they need a catchphrase. They kind of feel like whatever the name of their team is, it's got to be 2 syllables, right? It's got to be 2 syllables. Whatever it is, you're like, I'm trying to think of just 2 random syllables. Young boy, like, you just picture them doing their thing and like, New Day, it's got to be 2 syllables. Whatever it is, you can't have 4 or 5 syllables. It just wouldn't sound right. It's got to be 2 syllables. So, the Jamaicans. Jamaican me crazy. He should come out and do the Jamaican accent again. They could do a storyline where he gets hit on the head and he wakes up. Oh, fly it not the Brimhosman. Where am I? You're like, no, I don't think it would work. The Novel Sunrise coming to AEW. I like that. Guevara 813 says he hasn't cried this hard in so long. Thank you, DT. Much love, my friend. I don't even know I'm funny. Honestly, I'm just talking, just off the cuff with stuff like that. And I didn't even have to show my fat nipples. Look, I didn't even have to show body parts to do it. Listen, again, what we do here is just an escape. I think some people take this shit way too serious. You see what's going on the last 24 hours with this AEW stuff? Oh my God. Like, I'm watching people literally have wars to the point where cops may even be getting involved. And I'm like, for fucking what? For what? It's just a weirdness. I see some of my friends fighting online. And I'm saying to myself, man, one of you motherfuckers need something seriously tragic happen in your family right now. And not that I wish it, but my point is, you'll realize how much you got to keep things in perspective. Fighting over shit like that is dumb. AEW's future is simple. Paramount is going to be purchasing Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount is going to be in control of many television shows. If you notice, a shitload of Warner Brothers Discovery press releases over the last 3 or 4 years almost never bring up AEW, but they bring up a lot of other shows. So when Paramount gets the keys and opens the warehouse, Paramount will then make a decision. Yeah, let's see if we can work out a deal. Or, nope, they're gone. Or, yep, let's try to work something out. Or, nope, that's it. We don't know. People out there, you know what I laugh at? I'm not going to mention any names, but if you saw this article that came out in the last 24 hours about AEW, YouTube, the story I'm talking about. I will say this. It is kind of funny to watch some people out there almost living and dying by this article, insisting that it's 100% credible, and yet you're doing the very same thing that BJ Bethel did. Just think about that for a minute, because I like the article and I think it makes sense. And I've also said the future of wrestling is streaming TV. One day, AEW will be off TNT and TBS, whether Paramount bought it or fucking Saudi Arabia bought it or it wasn't sold at all. The future is streaming. The technological age, the future is streaming. Just like, you think of, look at this. I brought this up on Wednesday Night Dynamite, something you all should think about that no one is talking about. CW. You heard about the deal with CW and ESPN, right? In the very near future, I think it starts in June or July, NXT weekly episodes will be available on ESPN Unlimited app. CW is committing ratings suicide because you're going to make your product available on a streaming platform. How many people are going to stop watching CW on NXT on CW and just watch it through the ESPN app? There will be people that'll do it. People try to convince you that 500,000 people do it for AEW. So why would you divide your ratings up? Why? Because the commercials that air on the ESPN app, CW gets paid for it, not ESPN. And if you say to me, well, how does ESPN make money out of it? Well, ESPN now goes to their customers that are not sure about signing up for Unlimited and says, we have 800 hours of CW sports. We have bull riding. We have volleyball. We have college basketball, college football, NXT, So you're adding more to your unlimited plan. So that could make people decide to sign up because they're just getting more. So CW, that deal with CW and ESPN is extremely rare and somewhat unique. Nobody's talking about that. The future of streaming, the future of wrestling is streaming. AEW one day will be streaming. I don't know how profitable YouTube would be, but to make it seem like that's it, the company's going to flatline, that's it, they're going to be in critical condition. Some of these people doing this the last 2 days, if you criticize BJ Bethel, you take a step back and you just say, listen, we don't know what Paramount's going to do. We have an idea because of Paramount's relation with TKO and this and that, but at the end of the day, we don't know what they're going to do. No one knows what they're going to do. And if you think you know what they're going to do and you put it as a story, you're doing the same thing that BJ Bethel did. Whole bunch to do about nothing. But I will tell you all this. What's going to happen with AEW and Paramount may happen in 2026. That article that came out yesterday or today said 2027, 2028. It could happen in late 2026. Remember that. Tyrese Variano. Tyrese says, hashtag thank you, Zoe. Hashtag standing ovation. I don't have anything personal against Zoe Stark. The Pure Fusion Collective was just a great joke on the shows. I like Zoe Stark. I just never saw, I never felt the WWE Universe in droves getting behind her. They tried so hard with Trish Stratus, and it failed miserably. That should have been a wake-up call, that if Trish can't get her over, outside of illness and injury, nothing is going to get her over. For the WWE Universe, you bring her into AEW, even if she cuts a pipe bomb, even if she folds her legs and people will be like, oh my God, I'm going to remember this for 10 years to come. I just don't see where that goes. Just being honest. Bully Ray, man, I give him credit for what he said, but, it was just like, I don't know. It was just a really interesting take to be that strong about it. And I'll also say this. It's hard for me to take Bully Ray seriously, that passionate about Zoe Stark, where he was just as passionate to tell the LFGers, I ain't fucking giving none of them advice. Like trying to be the tough enough asshole from back in the day. Like, you trying to be hardcore Holly. It's like, I don't know. His takes are all over the place. It's almost like if you take Rikishi and Kevin Nash, or Karen Nash as I like to call him now, put him in a room and just fucking they obviously need to have central air conditioning. I don't think Karen Nash would live in a house with an air conditioner. You actually have to push buttons. I think it would be central air. But you take the central air and you just pipe in a whole bunch of weed smoke. Just let it pipe in, just nonstop weed smoke to the point where they can't even see each other. And you basically have Rikishi and Karen Nash, just ingest that smoke for 2 or 3 hours, and then that's basically what you get with Bully Ray right now. So, thank you for that. T. Smitty says these cuts remind him of pro sports teams letting the high-price vet go in favor of younger talent on a rookie contract. Would you move Jade Cargill to Raw? Right now, I would say no, because Naomi could return in a couple of months. Bianca is not returning, obviously, anytime soon. She's about 6 months pregnant. I think Jade on SmackDown is fine right now. I think it would be kind of strange to interact with her and Liv Morgan. I think you need more strong baby faces on Raw. Sal Ruka could be enough for now, and you could have a turn possibly in the future. AJ Lee is no longer there. So that does leave a little bit of a void. I don't think Jade Cargill on Raw right now would be the way to go. Doesn't mean you don't do it in the future. As far as the sports team thing, this is how I look at it. WWE is not going younger. They're not going younger. Because as you look at who they've been featuring, look at the ages of the main stars. I mean, we just had people talking about a WrestleMania, from Randy Orton to CM Punk to Roman Reigns to Cody Rhodes, and you just keep going down the line and look at the age of all of them. People are like, oh no, they're getting younger. I saw my sources tell me that a lot of these cuts are because they're getting younger. What was WWE doing with these people on TV? I don't have the picture of the releases in front of me right now, but even if I pulled it up, which maybe I can really quickly, you tell me who was really that was last year's releases. Do I have it here? Yes, I do. Okay, let's look at this very quickly. Who in these releases was like main event, or semi-main event? The Motor City Machine Guns? Nope. Alba Fire? Kairi Sane. You heard my WrestleMania predictions with Joey 924. I said WWE has never shown me confidence in booking Kairi Sane as a single star. So Kairi Sane, as much as she is probably the one we're going to miss the most, still, she wasn't the focal point. Never was going to be. It's either Oscar or nothing. That's what it came down to. Zoe Stark has been injured. Apollo Crews, not recent. Zelina Vega and Aleister Black, with all due respect, people still said, you gave Cross and Scarlett's gimmick to them. Santos Escobar's injured, and a Wyatt 6 feuding over a lantern. You're like, oh no, WWE released everybody to get young. Get younger or what? Get younger so we have younger people in shitty positions? That people comparing it to the 90s. WWF got rid of Hogan, Savage, Piper. They didn't get rid of Barry Horowitz and 40-something-year-old. Like, it wasn't just mid-carders. That's when you get younger, the new generation. You don't turn around and say the new generation, we got rid of Bastion Booger. We got rid of the Berserker. You're like, the new generation, that means you're replacing the Hogans and the Savages with, younger stars. That's not newer generation. That's basically people you are paying a lot of money for and not doing a lot with them. So, but yeah, I agree with you in the sense that sometimes you do have to let somebody go. And it feels like a veteran pair of baseball players that have a legendary career, but they're not really offering what a younger star could. Or you got to give that spot. Sometimes you let go of an outfielder and you bring a pitcher in. It doesn't mean you have to replace an outfielder with an outfielder. But I like what you said about the sports idea of it, because it does feel like, all right, let's make room for someone else that could fill that void. The thing is when you look at the New Day and their characters and the trolling and everything that is behind what they do ever since they turned heel and turned on Big E, who do you replace that with? There's nobody you could replace it with. Even if you bring people up from NXT, they don't have any other character. You see, here's a perfect example. I'll bring it up again. Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. You got rid of Karrion Kross and Scarlett and loved the gimmick. So we'll give it to Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. And it failed miserably. Who do you give the New Day gimmick? Not saying anybody's going to walk in there and shrivel their hips and go, New Day. What I'm saying is, who fills that comedy asshole trolling void and people want to see them get their ass kicked as heels? Who do you replace it with? There's nobody. You can't get anybody to fill. Not saying it'd be a New Day character or gimmick. What I'm saying is they were so good at being heels and trolling, but people wanted to see you get your ass kicked. People wanted to see your matches. The New Day would still get This Is Awesome chance. So who do you bring in to be that antagonist, that asshole, the people that get under your skin? You just want to see somebody beat them up. They don't have anybody. Miz and Kit Wilson is not the answer. Miz, I don't want to say he's a part-time guy, but the Miz has a lot of outside projects. He's not that answer. He's not the replacement for the New Day. So, I don't know. But I like what you said. Very good point. Jermaine Reyes. What's up, DT? The Zilla Fatu show up at Backlash, get involved in a Roman Jacob match. Zilla has a meet and greet in Tampa, and Backlash is in Tampa. It's possible. Everybody thinks that, Jacob Fatu, he got a phone call also. And it's not Pat McAfee, thank God. Could it be Zilla Fatu? it's kind of funny how these people don't text message. You know, like if you notice, like today's day and age, you text message more than anything else. Like they got phone calls. It's possible, but Zilla Fatu is not a household name yet. And even if Jacob Fatu revealed that he was talking to Zilla, like, I don't know how much the WWE Universe is going to care at this point, but I will say this. Florida would be a great place to have Zilla Fatu debut. Be an easier place for him to debut. So, yeah, that's definitely possible. I don't know if it'll happen, but it's definitely possible. Look, they just got rid of Tangaloa and JC Mateo. So you can easily, listen, unless you could have Solo Sikoa running around with a bodyguard, I have a feeling Tama Tonga should be the guy on the phone. I don't think they should release Tama Tonga. I'll be honest with you. Next to Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, to me, is one of my favorites of that faction. I think out of everybody, you keep Solo and you keep Tama. And, you know, Tama Tonga would be interesting, but I don't know about Tama Tonga as a babyface, though. Unless Jacob Fatu is going to go full-blown heel. You know, he's doing it a little bit right now, but I kind of would rather see Tama Tonga in that role. But if you bring in Zilla Fatu, you could have Tama Tonga, Zilla Fatu, and Jacob Fatu. All three of them. And then you got the Usos and Roman Reigns. Unfortunately, Solo Sikoa and Tala Tonga would be on the outside looking in. You know, I just thought about it. You know who Danhausen's opponent, tag team partner should be? Omos. It'd be pretty funny to see Omos wearing that face paint, but it's not going to be, obviously. It's not going to be. When we do discussion tomorrow, I think we will do predictions for Backlash tomorrow. Got to think overnight, like, who should be Danhausen's opponent? Like, you know, could you possibly go Cody? I don't know about that. I mean, could they possibly do like a Royce Keys? I don't know. Like, I have to really like think about it. Oh, S21 Ultra says that reports are starting to go out now that John Cena has been advertised to appear at Backlash. Yeah. Somebody brought to my attention how low the ticket sales are. It's kind of wild to see how many blue dots there are. Again, I don't know why the AEW hardcores are not talking about this right now. Backlash has a lot of unsold seats. And man, I mean, you're talking big time prime seats that they want as much as $6,000 a ticket. And it's not just a couple of dots. Tomorrow, I'm going to share my screen and show you live how many tickets are unsold. You look and you'll be like, holy shit. It's wild to see that many tickets unsold. So thank you, Philip, for the kind words. All right. How long are we going? All right. We still got about 20, 30 minutes, maybe a little more. Before we get into CM Punk, 316 MMA. Do I think that last night was the last time we see Anna Jay in AEW? Do I think Roxanne will turn on JD McDonough for tomorrow's Raw? Or turn on Judgment Day, I guess should say. We actually speculated last week about Roxanne Perez being a babyface again. And yes, I can see Roxanne Perez and Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. They want to have some tag team matches in the future. I just feel that Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez are a great duo together. I just personally would not split them up. I don't know if Roxanne Perez should turn babyface this quickly. I think it's a little, let me put it this way. If you're going to turn her babyface, you're going to have to wait a month. You're going to have to wait several weeks. I think you're going to have more almost Romeo and Juliet type segments with Finn and Roxanne. Not that Finn is trying to get laid or anything like that, but you have to have more moments where Finn's like, shh. Like, you're going to have to do that for multiple weeks. But you got to be careful with that too, because WWE understands we all go on the IWC now. Like, everybody's online. So how stupid would it look in storyline that Liv Morgan has no idea that Finn Balor is showing up and talking to Roxanne privately? Like, if you just look at common sense, this Monday's Raw, Liv Morgan should go up to Roxanne Perez and say, what was that last week with Finn? And Roxanne, like, what are you talking about? She's like, what do you think? I'm stupid? I don't see I don't see the clips. I don't see that he showed up in the locker room. What's that all about? You know, like maybe Liv gets a little bit pissed off and Roxanne like brushes it off, but maybe Roxanne gets a little annoyed also. You can't act like Liv has no idea that Finn is showing up. So if you try to do that where Roxanne's walking in the back and Finn is like, man, you know, we all watch TV. You can't do this like in the past where the cameras are around and nobody realizes the cameras are around. So we shall see. We shall see. Dominic, did I hear Saudi Arabia passed on buying WWE and would have kept Vince McMahon in charge? Do you honestly think anybody in Saudi Arabia told WrestlingVirgin.com that? First of all, Saudi Arabia is a country. It's not a person. All right. You would have to have had a group of investors, a group of individuals led by someone. So I'm not saying you, but I know exactly the articles you're talking about. If any of those authors want to come on my show, I would say the same thing. Why are you talking Saudi Arabia as if it's do they have a vagina or testicles? Like Saudi Arabia, what do they look like? They're saying Saudi Arabia as if it's a human being. It's a country. Who in the country was looking to buy WWE? The Crown Prince? Like, if you're going to say something, you got to be a little bit more specific. And you see these people writing that. There's too many fans out there that will just listen to it, be like, yeah, you know, that makes sense. I could see that. Keeping Vince in charge. And then you take a step back, but wait a minute. You're saying Saudi Arabia. There's 5 billion people in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a country. It's not a person. So when you hear that, you know, people aren't going to be a little more specific. They can't. How are they going to be more specific? Do they have any documentation that Crown Prince wanted to buy it? Do they have any documentation that fucking Donald Trump's son-in-law and a group of Saudi investors that wanted to buy fucking another type of sport also was looking to buy WWE? They have nothing. So they'll just say Saudi Arabia because it just sounds like it makes sense. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Like I say sometimes, I appreciate all the positive response. Sometimes we just got to take a step back and just use common sense. Some people out there say some things that sound really, really good until you take a step back and think about it for a second. You're like, wait a minute. That actually doesn't make sense. As far as Anna Jay, I just feel like there's too much Anna Jay out there for this to be something extremely, you know what I'm saying? Like, if she was just going to privately exit AEW, I don't think, you know, like having all this attention on yourself, walking out. Let me put it this way. I don't know Anna Jay personally. I don't know anything about her really, other than what we know publicly. But I will say this. She comes off as someone intelligent, beautiful, smart, and, you know, it seems that she's got a head on her shoulders. I don't think it benefits her any way to start having all of this negative attention and controversy around her if she's leaving. I think this would be more of a case of, even if there's frustration, I think it would be more of a case that you exit. She got an amazing opportunity the last bunch of years. She may not have gone as far in the food chain that maybe she had hoped for, but Tony Khan gave her much more of an opportunity than I think anybody else would have. So to see the way this is being played out online seems a little bit off. And I just feel like this is not someone that I think would just be bitch territory, like a little bit naive and like, fuck it. I just say what I want and just on my way out. I don't care what bridge I burn. I just don't think that's the case. And that other stuff as far as Saudi, it's ringside news. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. You know, it doesn't surprise me. Ringside News will just post anything. even the CM Punk stuff. I'm going to share something with you that not one wrestling site. I checked. I don't make claims like that unless I check first. But I'm going to share something with the CM Punk 911 audio. We'll get into that in a second. S21 Ultra, DT, remember when Alexa Bliss returned, she renegotiated a deal? And it was said that WWE was annoyed with that. So do I think they're hypocrites? They're allowed to change, but not her or not you. Everybody is different. Each person is handled differently. Plus, with Alexa Bliss, I think there's still a lot on the table that you could have done with her as far as the women's division. And I don't think you could just simply use a broad brush and treat the New Day and Alexa Bliss and this person all the same way. Listen, I don't like bringing names out there, but I guarantee you we're going to hear something in the near future about Johnny Gargano. We're going to hear something in the near future about his wife. We're going to hear something in the near future about some others. There's some names. I think we're all going to hear it. But, the thing is, everybody is looked at differently. With you look at Candice LeRae, there's a lot of want of her working behind the scenes. You look at Natalya. Natalya is a really, really interesting name because if you read between the lines online, Natalya pushing her school, doing what she does in the dungeon, Liv Morgan recently really putting over Natty and the work they do in the dungeon, and Liv is crediting that for her progression in the ring. And you could kind of feel like Natty is like one giant advertisement campaign online as to why TKO should not be contacting her like, we need to restructure your contract. I'm not saying that she's not worthy, because remember when they did the draft a couple of years ago when they were doing the Fox thing, remember I said I thought Natty, her being moved, I thought was the most important move on the women's roster, because she is like viewed as like not necessarily the aunt of the WWE, but she's so much of a trainer and a mentor that I thought she was going to help the roster. I think she got drafted to Raw, I think it was. I remember we joked originally and said that the robot was cheering because they didn't keep her on SmackDown. Remember? Natty has a lot of value. But if you kind of look online, it sure feels like it's nonstop patting on the back, of herself. But she does have a lot of other things to offer, and I think, if she were one to be let go, there's a lot of incidental things that she does also that would also be let go. So I don't think Natty should be one to be let go. But what I'm saying is that you can't treat everybody the same way. There's a lot of different, aspects with the names being thrown around. So Michael Gonzalez, the Mets are just, they need to get rid of the manager. And I watched the game yesterday against the Angels. Nobody fucking hits home runs. You can't just have one or two guys. I mean, it's just like everybody was hitting the ball down. I was like, oh my God, this team, I hate the offense of the team. Awful. Speaking of awful. Oh, by the way, I hope you check this out from Wednesday. That's my cartoon graphic. I don't know if it'll be WrestleMania 44, but WWE's absolutely coming to Wembley sooner than later. So that 81,035 could be long forgotten. It'll be number 2. That'll be coming. You mark my words. Let's talk about this CM Punk 911 call. Did you guys see what TMZ put out the last 48 hours? Another fan in Las Vegas claims that they were assaulted by CM Punk. I'm going to share with you the 911 call. Then after it's done, it's about 2 minutes long. Maybe I'll stop it midway and reveal something that you'll be like, holy shit. Not one wrestling website has reported this. How did I get it? Very simple. Obtained a little more details as far as the complaint. It was a complaint, but there was no arrest. There was no charges filed. So this was a 911 call and a complaint, and the police did show up, and this was pretty much squashed. Take note, there is no fan footage of it. There is no cell phone footage of it. It happened in the lobby of the MGM Hotel. So there's 1,001 cameras all around. So when you see that there's no camera footage, that should tell you a lot right off the bat. So with that said, I want you to hear this 911 call. And you will understand why I wrote online. And some people immediately tried to accuse me of being racist. Like, what are you saying? He's Indian, that he's a scammer? Because I said, yeah, this guy sounds like he works for Microsoft and Best Buy and Amazon and Norton and the McAfee, and probably told you had a $399 refund, that if you want the money, you got to give me your bank account or access to your computer. I wanted you to hear some of this 911 call. I'm not gonna wait till the end of it. I'm gonna reveal something that no one has told you, and you're gonna be like, "Holy shit!" This is what TMZ tried to give you all, and I want you to hear this, and then I'll give. And even TMZ didn't reveal it. Fuck you, TMZ.
Sí, quería poner una denuncia.
I want to make a report.
Okay, what is the address?
¿A qué dirección?
Aquí lo que es el motel, el MGM.
In Las Vegas.
Okay, and what happened?
I'm pausing it for a second. Do you notice something? How many people do you hear talking? Besides the 911 operator, how many people do you hear talking? 3, right? 3. Remember that. I want you to listen a little more.
Happened?
Lo que pasó que estaba aquí en el lobby esperando a lo que viene siendo la superestrella de la lucha libre WWE.
Okay, apparently it got muted for a second. All right, I'm going to share with you now something you don't know, and then I'll play it again for all of you out there. You ready for this? Actually, you know what? No. I want you to listen to a little bit more. Then I'll tell you. Just listen a little bit more.
So I was here waiting for the WWE superstars, and I was trying to get a picture and maybe an autograph from them without ill intentions. I just got close to them, and then when I got close, the star CM Punk pushes me and chops me for my chest.
How long ago did this happen?
12:31 in the morning.
Okay, and it was an employee for WWE that pushed you?
No, the star itself.
Okay. I'm going to start it again and let you hear the whole call in its entirety. But I'm going to reveal something to you right now that TMZ didn't even tell you and no one told you. And the reason why I'm telling you now is because when you listen to the call and you listen to the final 90 seconds of it, think about this in the back of your mind. The person you hear speaking English, talking about the incident, saying that I wanted to meet CM Punk and he hit me in the chest and he looked high or drunk. As you hear that guy talking, realize he's not the one who was assaulted. The person who is speaking Spanish is the one who claimed to have been assaulted. Because that person didn't speak English, he gave the phone to someone else. That other person never says in a 911 call that his friend was the one who was assaulted. He keeps saying, I, me, I. The person who spoke Spanish is the one who claimed to have been pushed. And not only that, after you hear the 911 call, I will transcribe to you what the person said in Spanish. And it's a little bit different than what ringside fools and others out there are telling you. How do you like that? TMZ didn't even tell you that. They stuck their middle finger so far up your ass. All right, here's the 911 call in its entirety.
Sí, quería poner una denuncia.
I want to make a report.
Okay, what is the address?
¿Qué dirección?
Aquí lo que es el motel, el MGM.
En Las Vegas.
Okay, and what happened?
Lo que pasó que estaba aquí en el lobby esperando a lo que viene siendo la superestrella de la lucha libre WWE. Entonces me voy acercando hacia la superestrella para pedir una foto, por favor, pero sin ninguna intención de, pues malamente, ni siquiera tocarle. Pues cuando llego hacia a la persona que es el luchador CM Punk, pues me agrede violentamente y me empuja con ambas manos hacia mi pecho.
So I was here waiting for the WWE superstars, and I was trying to get a picture and maybe an autograph from them. Without ill intentions, I just got close to them, and then when I got close, the star CM Punk pushes me and chops me for my chest.
How long ago did this happen?
12:31 in the morning.
Okay, and it was an employee for WWE that pushed you?
No, the star itself, CM Punk.
Okay, and do you need medical attention?
Not right now, thank you.
Okay, and the person that pushed you, what is his name?
Well, I just know that he's the fighter, CM Punk. I do not know the legal name.
Okay, is he white, black, Hispanic, or Asian?
White.
How old is he?
30, 40, maybe 50.
How tall is he?
Like 175, approximately.
Okay, is he skinny, medium, or heavy build?
Heavy.
Okay, and where did this happen?
Inside the lobby of MGM Motel here in Las Vegas.
And what color were his shirt and pants?
Yeah, I think I see here the picture that it's gray sweater, gray hat with black pants, black briefcase.
Is it a baseball cap that he's wearing?
No, it's like a gray hat with a frontal tag, like for the cold climate.
Okay, so like a winter hat?
Winter hat, yes.
Okay, do you know if he was drunk or high or unknown?
So I wouldn't be able to say for sure, right? I'm not a specialist on that topic. I only think that he might be either drunk or high, but I can appreciate on one of the pictures.
So unknown?
I do not know per se, again, but his face was red and his eyesight was full of anger.
Okay, and did he have any weapons on him?
None. He only had a briefcase on his left hand.
He was a fucking translator. He was a translator. Are you kind of amazed that TMZ didn't even tell you that aspect of it? What was caught on the 911 call? The person talking in Spanish, all right? I ran it through a translator program, and this is what the person in Spanish was telling the person who was on the phone. Not the dispatcher, but the person who claimed he was assaulted. The person in Spanish says he wants to file a report. He says it happened at the MGM Hotel in Las Vegas. I was in the lobby waiting for the WWE superstars. I was approaching the superstar to ask for a photo, please, but without any intention or even wanting to do anything bad. I didn't even touch him. And when I got towards CM Punk, he attacks me violently and pushes me with both hands against my chest. Basically, if we pretend that this TNA Samoa Joe figure is the fan, okay? If this is the fan, okay? There's the fan, all right? The guy in Spanish went up to CM Punk. Can I have a photo? Please, please. Now, if he only spoke Spanish, probably CM Punk didn't understand him because he obviously didn't speak English. And CM Punk violently pushes him with both hands against my chest. Everybody's reporting that CM Punk chopped the alleged victim. This is what actually was done. Get the fuck out of here. The fuck out of my face. Don't get in my face. That's what happened. That's what happened. This fan got in CM Punk's face. Can I take a photo? Please, let me take a photo. Obviously don't speak English. So CM Punk pushed him out of the way. I was violently attacked. Called 911. Person that made the 911 call wasn't even the victim. Pretty wild, right? Do you think any wrestling website is going to figure that out? Nope. Nope. It's a stalker. It's a stalker. And fuck you, TMZ. Fuck you again, trying to put controversy out there. And even Ringside News and these other, the word I want to use, I get canceled. They're like, oh, the reason why charges were not pressed. You don't even know what the fuck happened. That's what happened. You have these people that get right in the face of the wrestlers. And again, they spent an insane amount of money to go to WrestleMania. And they feel that if a wrestler is there, well, look, I dumped thousands to come here. The least you could do was just take a picture with me or sign an autograph. People felt that they had stuff owed to them. That's why you see it in New York City. Did you see the fans trying to put the guilt on Dominic Mysterio and Obafemi? At least Pom Pom Girl paid to meet Obafemi. You had Obafemi standing in front of a building in New York City waiting for an Uber and be like, Oba, for the kids, Oba, come on, don't be like that. And, be lucky that these people didn't get in their face. You saw Randy Orton. You remember the autistic guy? He's wearing a fucking bright, a reflective orange vest like you're directing plane traffic. And it says autistic, be kind. How's about you be kind and not get into somebody's fucking face when he's trying to get on an elevator? No, but I'm autistic. Oh, then that makes it better. I'm not trying to go after people. I'm just saying, it's just weird how people try to play the victim. This motherfucker doesn't know any respect. You don't get in somebody's face. Please, let me get the photo, please. And the motherfucker that was on 911 talking about how CM Punk looked high, he looked drunk. He wasn't even a victim. All right. I figured I'd share that with you. We don't break stuff, but it's wild when you hear only a small part of the story. You don't hear the rest of it. So, all right. Let's get into some more questions. We'll jet in about 15, 20 minutes. Let's head over to the chat room. Got another super shout. Is this from Chaos? Chaos, what's up, man? Chaos, you don't have to do that. I would answer your stuff. I appreciate it, though, man, my friend. Historically, in my opinion, which was the most influential territory? Florida Championship Wrestling, World Class, Mid-South. I just realized it. I fucking really hit that Samoa Joe figure hard. I mean, I know the box is all screwed up, but I would think it's probably worth something, right? I hope I didn't damage the box even further. So, and it still talks. Hopefully I didn't break it. Historically, which is the most influential territory? Florida Championship Wrestling, World Class, Mid-South, or Mid-Atlantic? Here's the thing. The further we get back away from the 80s, the further the impact of the promotion has with what we have today. I remember growing up a wrestling fan in the 80s. And because I lived in New York and because we didn't have the internet, because it was basically either the wrestling magazines or calling a pedophile's hotline, ML Curley, I think his name was, you really didn't have exposure to the South, Midwest. You had some wrestling on cable television, but not to the extent. So you would just hear about World Class. You'd see it in the magazines. So it's hard to say who was the most influential as far as territories go. But I will say this, to me, it always felt to me that Florida Championship Wrestling might have been the one that was the most influence outside of it. World Class was amazing. I have, obviously, over the years, accumulated video and tapes of world class. And some of the shit that was going on at the time is amazing. You see the sportatorium, you see the even the stadiums that they would just fill. You look at everything from the Von Erichs. I mean, there's obviously insane legacy there, but it was so regional. I mean, you did have some carryover to other territories, but it felt so regional. Mid-South, I would say the same thing. Mid-South is kind of like what the 70s and the early 80s were. I think that's where they really had big value. But because wrestling was not yet WWF and just the one game in town and everything else was just, small pegs on a wall, I just feel like out of everything, Florida Championship Wrestling, because that led into, that carried over to WCW. You had people that would carry over into other promotions in other regions. And even I remember with the early days of ECW, I remember just like the vibe of Florida Championship Wrestling. Even when ECW toured Florida, I think in 1994, it was either 94. No, I think it was 95. There was still a lot of reference with Florida Championship Wrestling. You think of Dusty Rhodes, you think of Kevin Sullivan, you think of, the Woman, God rest her soul, and others. God rest Kevin Sullivan's soul. To me, it just felt like there was so much more that came out of that. World Class, a lot came out of it because of its closing. I think that, so for me, being a Northeast guy, my perception always was that Florida Championship Wrestling is the one that kind of branched out into, so many different areas as a result. And of course, Memphis Wrestling, sure. But Memphis Wrestling felt very Southern. Memphis Wrestling was amazing also. You see some of the wrestlers that came up through Memphis. Even if you go to the 90s to an extent, you think about, the final years that Jerry Lawler was still there. Even you had The Rock doing stuff there. You had other wrestlers. I mean, it wasn't just Memphis. A lot of very unique stuff went on in Memphis, but again, very, very regional. But I did appreciate when when Vince McMahon did a little bit with Memphis in 93, I think it was. You did have some wrestlers going for the WWF doing a little bit of Memphis and back and forth. This is when Jerry Lawler first came in. That was fun. I kind of wish the internet was around at the time. I kind of wish technology was advanced too. Even if the internet was around predominantly in 93, you still couldn't watch a lot of videos and stuff because we had fucking 56K modems. Having the internet at that time is nice and everything, but even if you wanted to download a picture, sometimes it took a minute and a half just to even get half a picture. So it wasn't just not having access to the net, it was also technology at the time. I kind of wish that the internet and technology of today would have came out 20 years earlier or even 30 years earlier, because it would have been amazing to see the technology of today, or even from 10 years ago. If we could have had DSL and cable modem LAN connections like we did 10 years ago, having that in the 90s, I think some promotions could have even survived through this, because you would have been able to showcase so much of what you had on the computer that you could have streamed. You could have even sold tapes, just advertising things online. It was just so non-existent. I have a video that I made when I was working for the Mass Maniac in 2004 or 2003, I think it was. And I went to one of his indie shows and I tried to put one of his indie shows online as a TV show. He was going to let me do it. And I still have the original video. And I put it together, put little graphics. I have to show you all one day. But if you look at it, it's like 640 pixels by 320. Like if I put it on a full screen, you couldn't even, it was so pixelated because you had to keep the video quality so tiny because of technology at that time. That was 23 years ago. So I wish we would have had this 20 years earlier, because I think wrestling would look a little bit different too right now. I really do. So I appreciate what you said. Thank you, my friend. Swabby Sean says, I bring up old memories about dial-up. He remembers the days when he first got the computer at home, had Windows 98, and it took 20 minutes to go on the internet. It was so brutal, man. I appreciate the YouTube channels that kind of like recreate what it was like to be online in 1995 or 1998. It's bizarre to look back at it. I mean, the sound effects, you know, I still remember that clear. I remember when I was on web TV. When I was on web TV, I would be up late at night in my mom's living room on the floor with the keyboard. No one would be on the phone because everybody's sleeping, and using the phone connection to connect to web TV. And I'm browsing, I'm sending emails, I'm trying to look at pictures, you know, and it's amazing to look back on. That's why even now that we're able to put old episodes of what we do, you know, I think the oldest, I put a hotline report up the other day from 2002, but even the podcasts, when you hear some episodes we did in 2003, just understand what the speeds were at the time. And it's kind of crazy to realize that somehow myself, Joey 924, Kevin Castle, God rest his soul, Black Moses Smoked Out, we were able to get shows online in 2003 with that technology. It was still Windows 98 and Windows 2000, and Windows 2000 sucked. So that's why I take so much pride in the old episodes, because I know we were the longest ever to do this. I mean, I know people had call-in shows and other things, but not the way we did it. You know, it's awesome to go back and hear that stuff. It's outdated, but it's still crazy to look back. And I didn't know anything about technology at that time. I didn't know anything about graphics cards. There are old episodes. If any of you ever pay attention to it, you'll find old episodes around 2004, 2005, that you will hear, it almost sounds like a hairdryer in the background. And you'll hear Joey 924 once in a while go echo, echo, echo. And you hear this loud noise. And now, obviously, I know what it was. But because technology could not handle what we were doing 23 years ago, my graphics card was maxed out at 100% when we were doing shows. So my graphics card would be on so much overload that when we're recording live, you hear my fucking fans on my computers at full blast for an hour. And then once in a while, we get the blue screen of death, and the show would either get lost, or after a while, we would use a program called Goldwave, and that would automatically save a file, and sometimes we would recover it. But we never could understand why we would get blue screen of deaths. And now I realized that my graphics card was so overloaded that after a while, it was like, fuck you, and it would just crash the whole computer. That's what it was like doing these shows in 2003. So it was just, going back the days of the internet at that time was pretty wild, but it's kind of weird to now know every technical problem that we had at the time. You know, I wish I had the knowledge I had now. So, Roderick Gunther showing up on SmackDown, that's something that we've all talked about for a while. CM Punk and Gunther is probably going to be two opponents for Cody Rhodes. You really can't do Randy Orton. You know, you could, but a lot of that mystique is gone. You know, the storyline is come and gone. You look at the SmackDown roster, you know, there's not many names that really stand out. So you kind of feel like you got to do a little crossover. I don't know if WWE is going to do the draft. I would think it should happen sooner than later. You could have done a transfer window. They didn't even do that. Rhea Ripley is now on SmackDown. So you would think, okay, Jacob Fatu going to Raw. That was the trade-off. Rhea's on SmackDown now, so somebody from SmackDown to go to Raw, and there's Jacob Fatu, blah, 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 enough. But now you have Gunther on SmackDown. And you're like, oh, okay, how did you get Gunther on SmackDown? Oh, well, we saw Paul Heyman talking to Nick Aldis. So do we find out that Paul Heyman to return a favor to Gunther for what he did to Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, that Paul Heyman pulled a couple of strings and got Gunther to show up on SmackDown and take out Cody Rhodes. That could be where they're going with this. I don't know. But all I know is that they have to get substantial opponents for Cody Rhodes. They're not turning him heel just yet. He's too much of a moneymaker and too much of a role model for that company. Too much of a corporate guy. And this Cody versus TKO shit is not going to last very long because, unless he's going to fucking do the Cody cutter to fucking Mark Shapiro, just calling out TKO is going to be nothing. And people will be like, where's the payoff? So the only payoff is Cody Rhodes is revealed to be the corporate monkey all along. So you need stronger opponents. CM Punk, ideal. Gunther, ideal. So this is why you're doing that. Cody Rhodes is a big problem. Cody is more money chasing the belt, not holding the belt. But the thing is, Randy was not the answer, especially with this Pat McAfee shit attached to it. So that's why they're doing it. But you want to know something? One thing about wrestling fans, they're fine and they'll let go that, why did a Raw guy show up on SmackDown? It's separate brands. It's not allowed to happen. We'll let it go. Like, yeah, but it's Gunther, Cody. Okay. We had that I think we had it in Saudi Arabia, didn't we? We've seen it already. But now, Gunther challenging for the title, I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't mind Gunther beating Cody for the championship. So people are forgiving a little bit about this roster split for the sake of business. And the thing is, USA Network and Netflix are not in bed with each other. So if you're going to start taking people away from Netflix, you better have some good replacement for them. Roman Reigns, he's back. Okay, good. So now you can afford maybe CM Punk to go to Netflix a little bit, or Gunther to go to to SmackDown a little bit, or Gunther to go to SmackDown a little bit, because now you're intrigued with Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns, and you have this little bit here. So USA Network is not going to be happy to see SmackDown people leaving to go to Raw, and then their ratings are affected by it. So, you have to please both sides. And as long as you remember that Netflix and USA Network are not partners, anything that happens on SmackDown, there has to be just as much on Raw to replace it or substitute it or to offset it. So that's why they're doing it. They got to keep the numbers up. And it's going to be, and trust me, 5 years on Netflix is going to come much sooner than people realize. You're already a year and a half in. And after 4.5 years, that's when Netflix decides if they're going to opt out after 5. 3 years from now, you're going to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry on their wrestling websites right about now. My sources tell me is that Netflix may pull out after 5 years. My sources told me is that WWE is amping up to make it all, you're going to see all of that shit. Even Saudi Arabia, that deal is coming up much sooner. So to convince Saudi Arabia to not only re-up, but to double up, no, we not only have the greatest Royal Rumble, we have the Royal Rumble. No, we have the WrestleMania. So now they're upping it up. So the Crown Prince is like, that's it. $1 billion, no problem. $1 billion. That's what's going on. So they're going to do everything they can to make their sugar daddies happy. ESPN, Netflix, Saudi Arabia, those are the 3 sugar daddies. They're the big ones. USA Network is replaceable, but they're not paying. They're paying a decent amount of money. So, WWE's got to try to keep everybody happy. So, Raul, I hated the AJ Styles Claire Lynch storyline. You got to check out some old episodes of Kevin and I covering it. It was just ridiculously bad. AJ Styles was really at a weird time in his career. I remember at some points he was showing up so disheveled, he looked like Al Snow. I remember photoshopping a banner, an advertisement for TNA, and I still have it, where it's like AJ Styles channels his inner Al Snow. He was just showing up very disheveled, and the whole Claire Lynch thing was just, I don't know what they were trying to do. It just didn't work. I just, there were points of AJ Styles, no pun intended, that were phenomenal. But there were points in TNA that you were just like, what's the purpose of this? Like, I will tell you that covering it in real time at the time, we would have been more happy. And I remember us covering this. We would have been more happy if it was revealed that AJ Styles was sleeping with Dixie Carter. But they didn't want to go that route. They wanted to push this Claire Lynch nonsense. I mean, not saying that they both happened at the same time, but people were like, all right, if they reveal, because the rumor at the time was that Dixie Carter was, had some flings with a few guys there. I don't know what's true and what's not. Mr. Mystery told us some wild shit at the time. Told us about one incident at a bar with Dixie Carter and everything. And it's like, it wasn't where it was like a bad OnlyFans video. It wasn't like that, but it just, the way it was described, I was like, I just don't picture that. We were told a lot of stuff that was true. No question. We used to break shit. Trust me, we broke shit that time that fucking every wrestling website would not cover anything that we broke. And we were getting fed directly from TNA, all this stuff going. To the point where that infamous photo in the back, TNA had a paper that told the roster, under no circumstances do you appear on, and it was 2 podcasts, 2 or 3, and DTKC show was one of them. And Kevin and I at the time, when Mr. Mystery told us about this and we saw the picture, we were like, that's fine. We don't interview people anyway. We don't want anybody on the show. So, it was fun. It was fun, but Claire Lynch, AJ Styles sucked. TNA is pretty much NXT now. I wouldn't say that. I would say in size-wise, maybe. TNA is like a step above indie. It's like if NXT, NXT to me is like AAA, but I think NXT might be more AA. And I think TNA would be kind of like AAA. It's like their talent is talented enough that they don't need, like everybody needs schooling. Everybody always, you should always want to grow and expand your craft. But TNA, it's not about a bunch of students. TNA, it's established stars. And a lot of those wrestlers can main event any indie promotion they want. So to me, TNA is a step above indie, but it can't compare to NXT because NXT is intended to be a schooling, developmental. Throw shit on the wall and see if it sticks. Some people overanalyze NXT. Overanalyze it. They forget that it's developmental for Raw and SmackDown. So yeah, you're going to do goofy, stupid shit on NXT because it's developmental. I always compare it to, you got somebody who is a pitcher, all right? You have a AAA, AA baseball team that's a pitcher. And the guy's got great stuff, but is having a real difficult time in AA baseball getting over as a pitcher. But he hits like crazy. So they decide, you know what? Let's convert him to the outfield. I think a good example, it's a little outdated, but since there's a lot of Met fans here, if I remember correctly, I think Ron Darling originally was an infielder, and they converted him to pitching. Not everybody starts out in the position that they're in. Sometimes you have an outfielder, that might not be all that great in the field, but has an amazing arm, and they convert him to a relief pitcher. So in NXT, it's kind of the same thing. You have some wrestlers and you got to just test and throw shit on the wall. And sometimes it sticks and sometimes it's awful. That's why sometimes when I see Brian Alvarez almost having an aneurysm for fucking what he sees on NXT, I'm like, dude, lighten up. It's fucking developmental for Raw and SmackDown. You have to test shit. Where else are you going to test it? Evolve? You're not doing skits like that on Evolve. Where are you going to do it? LFG? You can't do it on LFG. Well, you can do it on the indies. How you going to do skits? The only place to do it is NXT. So yeah, some of this stuff is awful. That's the only way else you're going to do it. So that's how I look at it. All right. Tristan, what did I think of the Vince McMahon, Mr. America lie detector? I thought it was funny. You know, it was so obvious that being Hulk Hogan. I like when Vince McMahon would always do lie detector stuff and it would go off and everything. Vince McMahon, it's a shame what it has become. It's a shame because he should be celebrated for everything that he has done for wrestling, but, you know, he's so selfish for himself that it was like, you know, he didn't care. You know, he cared, but he didn't care. You know, he just did what he did. And, you know, the people, it's almost kind of like the Hogan situation. Hogan, you guys saw that documentary. I watched the rest of it. And when it was done, I read the quotes, Brooke Hogan feels that she was buried. I'm like, yeah, your dad was buried. You had the opportunity to right a wrong, and you just decided not to answer the calls. Is every Hogan fucked up? Like, every Hogan is fucked up, if we're being honest. Like, there's there's no sympathy there. You know, you see Hogan surrounded himself with everybody who loved him, obviously, but he also surrounded himself with everyone that would tell him what he wants to hear. There was nobody in Hulk Hogan's inner circle that would challenge Hulk and say, listen, you know, I know you're not a racist, but I think you really need to go out there and, you know, maybe you should do this speaking engagement. Maybe you should talk to some young people and, you know, you just talk about it. He had nobody. He surrounded himself with everybody who just wanted to tell him what he wanted to hear. And the same thing with Vince McMahon. It's just like the Fabulous Moolah stuff that I keep reminding people of. Fabulous Moolah is still revered and loved by so many people in the McMahon family and in WWE. But because Moolah and Dark Side of the Ring and how it just turned into a trend that she's canceled off of the earth. And, you know, I think Snickers tried to pull their advertisement. And then they realized we could only celebrate Moolah in the privacy of our own homes. You know, just because, you know, we want to think that Mae Young was a singles wrestler in her 80s, they just don't mention it publicly. It's the same thing with Vince. Vince has so many people that still love him and respect him. You know, they understand that Vince McMahon has too much of a sexual charge about himself. I think some people also believe that in the world of millionaires and billionaires and men who definitely use their power and money to get whatever they want, with all due respect, there are a lot of women out there be like, girl, I don't care. You saw Anna Nicole Smith. I'll fuck him. I don't care if he's 90. I'll fucking get what I want. I'll get what I want. I'll get what I want. You know, like, you don't think that there's women out there that don't want that shit off? I'm not saying Janelle Grant was one of them, but I'm just saying, like, you know, it's very easy to paint a billionaire as a sexual deviant and an abuser and taking advantage of people. But, you know, there's also people out there that are very willing recipients. It's like a Lifetime movie back in the day. I'll get what I want. I like that phrase. And what I do. All right, let's stop bringing this home. It's time. It's almost time. How long have we gone? We've gone a while. Yeah, there was so much left in the documentary. It was a Netflix grab. When they're playing that clip, I know where all the bodies are, brother. It's like, yeah, you're just trying to draw people in to watch that shit. You know, it's just, we knew what it was. It was like a money grab. It's a Netflix exclusive. Netflix like that reality shit. You know, and I look at it like this. No more Hogan documentaries. That's it. No more. You know, Linda, I kind of felt bad about. Linda. You know, the thing is, you know, and this is something where I limit how much I feel bad for her. We also need to remember that she banged a 19-year-old named Charlie Hill, I think his name was. Remember Charlie? Remember him? The blonde-haired guy? He kind of looked like Hulk Hogan from 1974. She was sleeping with a 19-year-old. Remember the boat and all this stuff? You know, so she was not, you know, an innocent victim in the woods. She was doing what she was doing also. The reason why she's, you know, sad now is because she's alone. You look at her. I mean, my God, look at the videos when Hulk and his new wife were eating the popcorn, making fun of her. Look at those videos. Look at her crying without makeup on. It's like a horror film. I mean, I feel bad for her, but, you know, she made that bed. She made that bed. You know, people like make their beds and they totally fuck themselves up, and they don't realize that after a while, you know, your thing down below now looks like a roach motel. It doesn't look like, hey, welcome aboard. You know, she's old now and she's lonely and she misses the earlier days. We all miss the earlier days. But, you know, she did a lot upon herself. And now she's lonely because of it. You know, boo fucking who? You know, a lot of it is her fault also. Oh my God, we had to cover her relation with Charlie in real time, man. It's kind of like when a baby eats like calf's liver for the first time, or a baby eats like Brussels sprouts ever watch a baby like eat strained peas for the first time? I'm not going to simulate it here because I don't want to ruin my shirt. But like, just imagine covering Linda Bolea and sleeping with this 19-year-old. And at the same time, we got videos of Hulk Hogan oiling Brooke Hogan, wearing his yellow trunks and that fucking banana hat. Remember that? And I even have a picture of Hulk Hogan sitting on a couch with his hands on his crotch. He had pants on, or he had shorts on, but I was like, I don't want to see this. And then the fucking Hogan video comes out with Bubba's wife. I still have the video, but I can't put it online. I mean, I know he's gone now, but I'm not taking a chance of being sued, so. All right. Let's start wrapping this up. Any last minute questions? Last call for drinks. So tomorrow night, we'll recap Raw. We'll do predictions for Backlash. We'll expand a little bit more on the CM Punk thing because I'm not going to lie, I waited a little too long to bring it up over here. But I think that's legitimate conversation. You know, he was scammed. And that TMZ call is a fraud. You know, they did not reveal to you that the person making the complaint was not the victim. That's a pretty wild thing to leave out, don't you think? And if we get any more about Kofi and Xavier, we'll talk about it too. If anybody has any great team idea, like name of their team, post it in the comment section. You know, I personally hope that they reach out to the IWC. Like, guys, come up with a name for us. You know? Ric Flair did not have naked pictures of Miss Elizabeth. No. And I've always appreciated, people thought that the pictures were photoshopped by the pool. That was kind of funny at the time. They had pictures by the pool. It was like, Rick, we're going to take pictures of you and Elizabeth by the pool. And we're supposed to believe it was photoshopped. It was kind of funny. Now, what they should have done was they should have shown pictures of Ric Flair and Miss Elizabeth from like 10 years earlier. Photoshop. Take a picture of Liz from like the early 80s. You know, when she's wearing more like the country, you know, bumpkin kind of stuff. And then you take Ric Flair from back then and somehow you Photoshop, but technology at that time was a little different. So, but you had Forrest Gump. I mean, Forrest Gump, I think, was around already. So they could have very easily did that. But, you know, it is what it is. Douche feels that David Finlay is better in AEW than NXT. He's still not being treated great in AEW. David Finlay is not going to be the focal point for anything right now. Right now, he sits on the sidelines, does a little bit, gets more time, gets more airtime, gets more experience. I personally think it could take years before David Finlay really becomes one that stands out. Just because you're in a faction or you're in AEW and you get a little TV time doesn't mean suddenly that you should be fighting for a championship or getting, substantial, stories. Someone like him is extremely talented, but he's not a household name, and it's going to take probably a couple of years before you start talking about him in a different way. You can't rush some of those names. That's why it's kind of funny when you hear like, oh, this person chose this company over something else. I'm like, what do you think that person would have done in the other company? Like they suddenly would have seen something that could have promoted them to the next level in such a short amount of time? No. I think he's going to take quite a bit of time before it goes to the next level. So Raul's asking, do I see WWE unifying the tag titles with all the teams getting released? No, not necessarily. I think the Creed brothers might finally start getting a little bit more TV time. That you could see a promotion, and down the line, you could also see another tag team forming that you wouldn't expect. I don't think R-Truth and Damian Priest will remain a team for that much longer. I don't see them unifying it because, again, Netflix and USA Network, two totally different entities. I don't think Netflix would be happy if they had to share their tag titles with USA. Women's tag team division, different story. Because even though WWE can't say it publicly because it would sound sexist, but women's wrestling in WWE is a little bit lower on the food chain as it is in AEW. And for anybody in AEW that thinks I'm crazy for saying that, then you ask me why the ratio of matches is sometimes 7-1 or 8-1 or 9-2. If it's such equal playing field or a little off, then why is the ratio so off? So, you won't go out. The TKO and WWE would not come out publicly and say, women's wrestling doesn't draw the, revenue and this and that. You got some individual people, absolutely. But it's the focal point is the men. It's always going to be a male-dominated sport, whether people like it or not. That's not going to change. You look at every promotion out there except for a women's promotion, the ratio of matches are always off big time. And there's a reason for that. I wouldn't say tag team wrestling is dead. I wouldn't suddenly call it dead because the Motor City Machine Guns were released. Personally, they helped some young teams. They helped Fraxium, they helped others, no question. But the Motor City Machine Guns were not going to put a big dent in tag team wrestling in the WWE that would, stick around for a long time. They were never intended for that. So them coming and going as quick as they did doesn't really damage anything. New Day has had a storied run over 10 years, legendary in a lot of ways. So again, the Hardys being let go did not kill tag team wrestling. This will not kill tag team wrestling, but it will definitely put more attention on it because of the releases. Now WWE needs to step it up. And who gets that spot? We don't know. We don't know. Yeah, props to the chat, man. Douche and some others bring that up. I wish we started going on YouTube 10 years earlier. We were going to do it 10 years earlier. We didn't. I got scared off of it. Oh, the chat rooms are toxic. There's always spamming. There's always this. There's always that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I waited 10 years too late. But doesn't mean that what we do now can't be good. And I absolutely love everybody who hangs out in the chat because you could say an honest opinion and don't have to worry about people ripping you apart. You can have an honest take about something. I mean, there's always people out there that'll have shitty takes because they just want to stand out and look a little ridiculous. I mean, that happens. But for the most part, you could say what you want here. And even if it's not a popular viewpoint and people may disagree with it, people might even think it's a little loony, but they'll respect it and let you say it. So, all right. Jim Conn says, Hank and Tank remind him of the Nasty Boys. I just would never see a path for Hank and Tank on the main roster. And if they ever go on the main roster, to me, that's like ultimate jobber territory. And I just can't see TKO bringing them to them. I mean, it could happen, but you bring them to the main roster and like, why would everybody get behind them? Why would everybody get behind unless they really make fun of, like their physique and get like just a lot of like poking fun at themselves? It's not like the common man. It just, I don't know. It just never, there's some people, just like when I used to say Tony D'Angelo's group, the D'Angelo family, I said for years, that'll never be main roster. It's just an outdated gimmick. And I'm full-blown Italian. And I live, in a predominantly, well, it used to be a predominantly Italian neighborhood. I fucking knew John Gotti. Not well, but, I was around all of that. And you would think, like, if anybody's going to support the D'Angelo family, it'd be me. Look, Tony D. The Don. I've been the Don of podcasting. He's the Don of NXT. Why wouldn't I give it? Because to me, it's just outdated. You bring it to the main roster. Who's going to get behind that? Jersey Shore is outdated. Fucking Sopranos is long gone. Like, there's no Italian gimmick in entertainment right now where they could play off of that. I always said the D'Angelo family will never, ever, ever get to that main roster. And I don't even know if Tony D gets to the main roster. What's his character right now? What's his identity? Intense? Passionate? Like, what's his identity? Like, you bring him to the main roster, and what is he about? He's great, and he is developed, and he speaks well, and he wrestles well, and I'm happy he's champion. But I bring him to the main roster, I'm like, okay, what actually is his character? Like, really? You grow your hair, berserker territory, grow it like fucking, just the beard, and, you could, Bruiser Brody looks like him. He's not Bruiser Brody. He's not Berserker. He's Tony D'Angelo, and he looks different. And, hey, how you doing? Hey, look, 3-hour cold coffee. Like, what's his character? So I just always felt that way. Not that I'm against anybody, but I try to be realistic about it. I remember people, what are you wasting your time for? Bring him to the main roster. That's it. He's got it. No, he doesn't have it. He's going to go to the main roster and start talking like a fucking guinea, and people are going to be like, it's so 1990s. He's going to wear a wife beater shirt. The thing he did with Santos Escobar sitting outside for the sit down was one of the funniest things I ever saw. I watched that and I'm like, oh my God, that's like so what you don't do in the mafia world. Sitting outside the way, I was like, come on, man. People throw you in a fucking fountain, with your feet fucking tied by a rope, and they'll dangle you upside down as if they're like roasting you on a barbecue. So, all right, guys, it is time for me to go. I thank you so much for spending some of your time with yours truly tonight. We got a very big show coming tomorrow. Got some things to talk about. We will definitely have some fun. I go live right after Raw goes off the air, like 1 minute after. Not trying to rush anyone, not trying to like, oh, if you don't, but we try to, it's kind of like when you, how do I say this the right way? It's kind of like when someone's going to like rob a store. You get in and out as quickly as you can before the cops show up. So we show up here tomorrow, as quickly as we can. Show up, do our thing, get out of here, get a good night's sleep. But I'll be live here, same channel, youtube.com/Don Tony. Check out the audio platforms. Download some of the old shows. Not to just inflate numbers, that's not what I want, but go check out and see what we were doing like 20, 25 years ago. It's pretty wild to listen back on it. It's crazy. And to think like some of those episodes have been offline for 20 years is wild. But I really got to give props to my server company for stepping up, because You know, it was so frustrating to see some of my friends, with all due respect, you know, in the top 10, top 20 as far as shows go. And then you look, there's got like 1,000, 2,000 episodes online. Like, sure, you know, that's the magic of some of these people out there. You look at some of these busted opens and what cultures and everything. They don't just do one show and then it's there for 2-3 days. Some of these people record 5 clips in one day. So you go on their channel and they got 5 different clips. So instead of having one long episode, they put 5 different clips. So if you download all 5 clips, you just gave them 5 downloads. If you just have one long episode, you gave them 1 download. Which gives you better stats? 5 different clips or 1? That's what some of these people do. It's very, very hard to get impact when you put everything out there in one piece. But, you know, I'm not going to start splitting shit up like that. But having an archive, you know, people want to go check out and see what we were talking about 10 years ago, 20 years ago. That shit with AJ Styles and Claire Lynch. You know, you just go to those episodes and check it out. see how we felt at the time. So that's why it's so important to just look back and laugh at that shit. But my friends, be well. Much love to all of you. And I want to thank you all for your continued support. For everybody that asks about my mom, not much has changed over the last week. She is home. She is still very weak, you know, very sore. Like I keep telling my mother, she had a bad valve in her heart for about 3 or 4 years. She's been having difficulty breathing and even walking around because of the lack of oxygen for 4 or 5 years. Now she has a mechanical valve and the blood is flowing, something that she hasn't had for 3 or 4 years. Your body has got to get used to it. You know, I just, as long as she has no complications, that's what we're most concerned about. But anybody that's on Patreon, you've heard the poop story. So I don't want to talk about it here. It's too long to talk about. But yeah, it was just to try to break up the mood a little bit. But I appreciate all of you for your thoughts. You know, my mom is very, very important to me. People accuse me of being a mama's boy. I don't have any. I wouldn't call myself a mama's boy, but my mom is probably the most important person next to my dad and my wife. And again, my prayers go out to Rebel and prayers go out to my father-in-law because that shit sucks, man. That shit sucks. What I witnessed the last couple of days, you know, it just really, really hit a lot differently. So, you know, just everyone out there, just have a good time, man. Have a good time. And all this awful, negative, out of whack, you could sit back and eat some popcorn and just laugh at others. Just don't get caught in that. Because all it's going to do is give you agita. And at the end of the day, you got to realize, like, nobody gives a shit if your balls are in a bunch. Nobody's going to give a shit if you're pissed off. You know, you might get a couple of likes of people LOL you and everything and think you're cool. And then they'll just go on to the next person. And you realize, wow, you know, that's it. So don't get bogged down with that shit. Just have fun, man. Be well, everyone. Hopefully I see you tomorrow night, right after Raw. Should be about 10:40 p.m. Eastern. That's usually about the start time. So thank you, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.